This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. If you take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
They try to tell me that aliens built the pyramids. It's funny because they probably did.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. I'm the destroyer, and this is doomsday. 360,000 years since I made way. Hey, I hate to be the one to warn ya. Your government knew all along, guess they weren't trying to spoil it for you. Boy, oh boy, I'm hot to death. High as my magnetic field. Theologists preach of me, but they don't think I'm really real. All my angels up in here, all my demons up in here. I know who brought you in this world. They'll take you out of here. The law of relativity's cute. I even sunk Atlantis too. NASA on that bullshit. They always cropping out my crew. And they be loving the crew. Yeah, they be loving the crew. I know that you heard about me way back in school. Mayan calendars, went to church, we all know revelations. You see Porsches, behold up pale horses, galloping across the nation. Watch out for them 7 seals, I'll be in the sky. The Euphrates river's dry, so you know it's real.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. No man knoweth the hour of my return. It'll be like a thief in the night. Make sure your people's alright. That's right, the writing's on the wall. They was only worried about Saddam, cause they had the balls to go against the gods. The only brown dwarf swagging, cross your son just like a dragon. The Japanese know what's happening. They was debating about Kobe and LeBron, the Bible or the Quran. They should have been taking cover. They said I'm red, but gold is my favorite color. Witnesses agree, they see me with wings when I hover. Might even make your pole shift when I'm skipping through. My orbit is a bitch on her mistral. They undermined the prophecy of Daniel, that's a bummer. Now I'm at your doorstep, but not for sugar. It's that Anunnaki flow. Inky and Lil would love it. Serious is the war in Syria, bitch.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. My power.
Global warming's a lie, the moon is a satellite. Holographic universe.
North Star to God.
This
for you, homie. This for you, homie.
Back in the 1950s, most people weren't aware of it, but there was a scientific storm in America all through the late 50s about this thing out there in space, because the astronomers were all watching it, and that was back when they weren't afraid to talk about it. It was in the science magazines. I mean, I had a subscription to, like, Popular Science, and hell, it was on the front cover of the magazine one day in, like, 1961.
Hey, just in case I get killed for this shit.
Because here's this giant red planet on the horizon of the California coast, and a humongous tidal wave coming in towards the coast, and having grew up in the mountains, and this thing in the magazine, it said this tidal wave coming in was going to be at least 3 miles long, and I went and showed it to everybody in the house, and they laughed, and they said, look, it's right here, there's nothing to worry about, it won't be here for another 50 years. Hey, guess what? That 50 years has came and gone. And this baby's out there in the sky. They've been watching it. I watched it. And I could tell you, This thing has got so much trash coming around it. You know how we live in a solar system? We've got 9 planets and a big sun. This thing has got 7 planets and its own sun. But
Peace, family. Peace to the east, west, and the north, and the south. Welcome to Aquarius Rising, the 9th gate. Thank you for everyone joining today. We have special guests in the house. We have Drake coming on tonight, coming to bring that fire in the yard intel. Of course, WadeX is in the house coming in. If you're here, welcome Patreon. Those are joining on Patreon, thank you again for joining. And those who are joining, who are invited otherwise, thank you for joining as well. This show is very pinnacle and important. Again, this would have been on our main platform, but they were already attacking the platform, so I had to bring it to a smaller niche. You know, sometimes when we're disseminating the information and the intel, what happens occasionally is whenever they get wind that some information, especially Drake, is known to absolutely bring in a lot of information and literally, you know, blow spots on governmental, you know, we call the government Willy Wonka, but blow spots on all aspects of, you know, inception, you know, corruption, the change of the structure of the way that the uniformed government has worked for so long is now finally concaving in, and we are starting to see the first tiers and layers of new, you know, they call it the New World Order, and I personally think it's probably in our favor more so than not. So, okay, no further ado, we're not waiting tonight. Drake is already in the house. I want to definitely, many of you know Drake from our show previously. It's been overdue. He joined us last year, bringing up the collapse of the system, which we're seeing right now. Many of the things that we saw are coming to fruition as we are witnessing at this moment. So let's get into the information. I'm not going to wait. You know, normally I kind of, you know, go around the bush. Let's go into the bush. Let's burn the bush tonight. All right. So Drake, peace to the east, the west, and north side. I would like to welcome Drake on the show tonight. Drake, are you there? Oh, wait. Hold on, Drake. Oh, wait. I don't even hear you. Hold on, Drake. It's already starting. Let me put you on the speaker. Okay. Drake, are you there?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right.
I thought they already got us out.
I consider, let's put it this way. I consider it a privilege to be invited on your show.
Oh, thank you, Drake. It's always a pleasure. I listen to you, and your intel is always fire. And, you know, I think it's really amazing how you haven't changed the way that you've been. You've been consistent, you've been persistent, and you keep giving the intel regardless of what's going on or even the level of inception that happens in a lot of our whistleblowing communities.
Well, you think you're being messed with. They took out one of Yahoo's servers trying to shut me down last Saturday.
Oh.
They have taken out Blog Talk servers.
Oh, my
gosh. They shut the power off up here. Woo! You name it. They don't want to hear it. The thing I did to them last Saturday was money.
Oh, there we go.
All the stuff that you're seeing in terms of the stock market and all that.
Yes.
I told them exactly what was going on and why, and how it's working and why.
Yes. Wow.
So, you know, they didn't really appreciate that a whole lot, I don't think.
You know that, Drake. You're messing with their money. That is the most diabolical form of their control over us for eons now. So that's something that I'm sure they would have been very happy with you about. But that's
well,
okay.
Like I say, they try to shut me up any way they can figure. It's like, you know, somebody and I'm gonna use this loosely. I hope y'all don't get offended.
No, go ahead.
But when somebody of color gets uppity about their rights being violated and whatnot, they just don't know what to do with it.
That's right. I agree. It's always something like that. So Drake, we see what's going on today. Yes, this is Drake. Mandy said, "Is this Drake Bailey?" Yes. So Drake, lots are going on. Let's kick it off. We're not going to even waste any time. Let's go straight into the stock market. What is this? The second day in a row? Now it's down 1,000 points. Come on now, Drake. Let's go in because we got a lot of our stock people in the house. Come on, bring the intel on what's going on because another day of this, I don't know that the system isn't going to collapse.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't guarantee that it ain't going to collapse. we're on the way towards a currency or money-free society anyway.
That's right.
Got to happen eventually.
It does. It
I
does.
mean, you know, you look at the food stamp cards. They charge them up once a month, and there you go. No cash involved.
That's
and no
true.
stamps that somebody can sell. That sort of stuff. So they figured that part out. But see, the thing is, none of the mainstream media is covering why everything's going in the toilet. Now, one of my associates on our page, let's see, it was, let's see here, this is Thursday.
Yeah.
Tuesday before last, he noted that on Monday, the BDI, or Baltic Dry Index, went negative. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. That is the stuff that gets shipped. And that's primarily on the oceans. So your containers full of goodies or whatever ain't arriving. So what happened is,
really?
This bug this bug really isn't all that nasty.
Okay.
It's just basically flu on steroids or some such. It is a bioweapon.
Yes.
It was produced by people that don't want us to live very long. That old BS about the Agenda 21 population reduction and all that.
Yes.
This is one of their efforts.
Absolutely.
So
now, Drake, a lot of the intel that I had gotten, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just a quick question.
Go ahead.
A lot of the intel that we were getting originally, I just want to kind of bounce it against with you right now. One of the first initial part of the intel before, because I was aware of what was going on in China a while ago. And one of the things that I heard is that obviously we had U.S. patent this a while ago. Corona, there's different variations of Corona. This is just one of many that's patented already.
Yeah.
So we know this already because that's what they do. But also that this was more so tailored to to specific genome of Asiatics, more so that it affects not only just Asiatic people, but Asiatic males. Can you confirm or can you confirm that or no?
Well, that was the beginning or the idea in the origins of it,
Yes.
but they added something to it, and that's called the capability to metamorph into something else.
That's right.
Or change its ways, or
right.
however you want to look at that.
Yes.
So what happened was that it went from primarily genome-oriented, like you're talking about,
Yes.
which is a bioweapon.
Yes.
And it metamorphed, and now it's just hungry for anybody to hold still long enough for it to take a bite out of it.
Absolutely. Now, the fact of the matter is that we know that it was geoengineered, and also there were several different publications in the 50s that were talking, and, according to the Brotherhood, they had uniformly orchestrated this as one of the events prior to the collapse and prior to the full-on pole shift as a way of clearing and cleansing the planet of useless eaters. Because, we're a bunch of piggies, and and they're trying to clear up the planet before that. What's your take?
Well, that's true, but the problem is that they didn't understand that turning the bug loose would act as a catalyst.
Yes.
Now, a catalyst is something that sets something off like the fuse on a firecracker.
Right on.
And what it did was the total unexpected and out of control problem of no shipping. Now, real simply,
yes.
if somebody can't ship goods from China, say, it don't matter how much money you spend on it.
That's
If
true.
you ain't going to get it, then that don't do you no good, okay? Same. Everywhere. Italy, the country, shut down.
It's crazy. Who would have thought Italy would have been hit? That to me was like left field. That to me, even though they said that it came via, because there's a lot of Italians travel more so than people realize. They're big travelers. They do go a lot of different places. And in France actually was one of the carriers on into part of Europe as well. They're kind of like, they were in, for some reason there was like an interaction in the the north of France, and like a ski lounge, and, everybody's mixing it up, drinking their cognac, breathing in the Coronas, and then going on their handy dandy flights to their countries, bringing surprises, and it's not Santa Claus. So Italy kind of shocked me a little bit. I wasn't anticipating Italy being hit so hard.
Well, Italy was prime. They're trying to take out the gangsters that control too much finance.
Oh,
it's sort of like the
yes.
Remember the Knights Templar?
Yes, yes.
The king didn't like the influence and money they had, so he eliminated them.
Wow.
Well, we still have. Here's the deal. People don't realize this. Everybody talks about things and put handles on them like deep state and things of this nature. The problem is nobody knows exactly who all is involved in that, first of all.
Yes.
And secondly, they do not understand how deep they're embedded in everything. So what happened was they wanted to play games with that useless eaters Agenda 21 population reduction.
That's right.
What they didn't realize was that it was going to screw everything up on a global basis.
It did. It did. It's like the domino effect.
Well, I'll give you an idea of how much money we're talking here.
Yes.
Every 1,000 points on the Dow is worth about $1.5 trillion.
What? Wait a second, Drake.
Now take 1.5 and multiply by 3.
Oh, sugar plums.
You get $4.5 trillion worth of value that went poof.
Oh,
up in smoke.
Oh, Santa Claus is not coming to Christmas this year. I can guarantee you, Drake. We won't see Santa
From what
Claus.
I hear, there's a secondary part of this that the deep state wasn't counting on, and that is the return to law and order, meaning that the corrupt are going to be wearing stripes for Christmas.
Yes, honey, yes.
If they are not executed.
That's what I heard. I heard, first of all, we have another light force, and not the dark state, but the light forcers who are enforcing justice. As we saw Weinstein going in and being indicted, that is something that we need to really take, we need to pat those on the shoulders who made that happen, even though it's a small slither of justice, because there's a whole lot more insidious than him. He's probably the least insidious on the outer layers of these pedophile type of, or the insidious kind of like predators.
Yeah, but that's not one of the major concerns. Not right now.
Yes.
They're kind of put that on the back burner. And the reason they did, I don't know how many people know about planning, forethought, and all that happy stuff, but the situation is very simple. Trump knew about this a couple of years ago. I heard about it almost 3 years ago, that it was coming. And I didn't believe it because of the sources and other things that get in the way.
Yeah.
But I started watching some of the special indicators, and all of a sudden things started showing that it was really going to happen. And what got me was that, and I covered this on my last show. Let's see here. Here you go. Why do you think there has been a heavy interest in rebuilding manufacturing? That's an open question. Now here's the other part of it.
Yes.
Does anyone really believe this is about jobs? It's much more than just that. Now, when a country or a large society such as America has to stand on its own 2 feet, all them little widgets and whatever come from China, they're going to have to be manufactured here.
Yes. Yes.
And you begin to see part of the plan. Okay, well, the plan is to take all of us useless eaters, the ones that are still physically able to work, and put them to work if they want to work.
Woo! Making America great again.
Well, no, this is going to be much bigger than that. You're talking about reinitiating all the manufacturing that has, like underwear made in China, or
I support this though, but I do support this.
There's an old saying about funky stuff, including dirty underwear, and it goes like this. You'll like it. It goes like this: manufactured in India and assembled in China by Mexicans.
That sounds about right, though. Unfortunately, as insidious as that sounds like that together, that jambalaya of a nightmare, that's a true tale of what goes on manufacture-wise. This is one thing I will say, Drake, that sounds more appeasing to me, because remember, when you got your intel about I call them Xinhua, the Chinese, They were globally taking over. I had a show a year ago. Big up to Rizing. One of the intellists was talking about the Chinese were over in Mexico, and he was noticing that there were tons of Chinese at the border. Why was that not being spoken about? And then my girlfriend, who worked for Dolce Bank, this is about 13 years ago, had said to me there were tons of Chinese coming in on cargo planes that were undocumented, that the government was allowing to come in, buying real estate in the Poconos. Now, this is 13 years ago, Drake. So this is something that was being pre-planned. They have taken over a lot of Africa, the Caribbean, you already know, and Jamaica. They were putting hits on native Jamaicans so that they could take over and take over most of the control over the islands. So the Chinese have been basically like the Borg, taking over and making assimilation to their culture, to their way of life, and to their industry hoarding behavior. What say you?
Well, that's called part of the 50-year plan China put out. The thing about this is that you can't just look at China.
Okay.
All of the oligarchs on the planet are involved in this.
Okay.
They may not like some of the results, but they're involved in it. And, you know, a closet monster has been making noises in the dark, shuffling sounds, and a moaning soft growl. Ooh, you know, what you got is paranoia right now. Everybody's scared of that little bug.
Yes.
Well, it's not the bug that you need to be scared of. What you need to be concerned about is not being able to acquire what you need. This is why I told everybody to start prepping.
That's right.
A long time ago, back in 2010 when I first got on the radio.
That's right. I've been part of the prepper community for over 20 years, and people thought we were crazy.
Well, you know, anybody can get some kind of dried rice or beans and get a hold of one of those machines that seals it up.
That's right.
And put you up some stuff, and you know, get you some canned goods that you know, you like the taste of, and you can dump that on there and make it taste right.
Well, if you see all the hustlers online right now, like AMTV, all of them are hustling right now, selling like mac and cheese for like $300 for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hustling.
Well, you can go to, now here's a trick a lot of people don't know about. You can go to what they call farm supplies, places of that nature, feed stores, and you can acquire rice and 50-pound bags of rice and beans for pretty much nothing.
Wow.
So $10-20 a bag.
This is interesting.
Now, do you realize how long it takes somebody to eat their way through all that? That's 100 pounds of food.
Absolutely. But of course, you know, this is a time when, you know, if they're telling you to prep, if the handy-dandy government's telling you to prep, they've already made the assimilation to the collapse. They've already assimilated to the collapse because they wouldn't even give that warning unless it was already past the point of really prepping, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, the contrary to popular belief, some in the federal government do think that people ought to be able to eat and have water and all that sort of thing. So we have an extreme, and I mean a huge store of ready-to-eat food. You won't die from it. You might not like it, but you won't die from it, and it's better than going hungry.
That's true.
And they're going to be passing that out if it gets to that point. Now, here's the deal. The economy in Italy, they shut the country down.
I know.
Nothing is allowed to port from the seas.
Wow.
Doesn't matter what it is. Okay. Now, the secondary part of this is which country, and I mean you can go through a list if you want, is best able to stand on its own. Well, like I said, they have been. Trump has been pushing our own manufacturing for quite some time, and a lot of the oligarchs are beginning to pay attention, especially now. But before the problem started, and they want to be able to keep, and this is real loose, real general. They want to be able to keep society in general running similarly to what people are familiar with.
Yes.
You know, you want to go to the grocery, you go to the grocery. Okay, now the problems that you'll see when you find out this is really serious is when you cannot get fresh produce in a grocery.
Yes.
because a lot of it's imported, and we're not doing that now.
That's right. That's true.
So you got a whole bunch of farmers out there that have got greenhouses, and they've already been, some of them have already been contracted for 2 years to produce everything they can.
Yes.
So they're looking at the worst case and being prepared for it primarily. But the main thing is people ain't doing nothing towards prepping. I mean, and it's really, I don't know, concerning to me that we're going to have a bunch of hungry people running around loose.
That's my thing
They're
too.
dangerous.
Yes, my thing too is I agree with you is that you have a lot of zombie-esque people who are walking around just basically thinking television is giving them all of the news, and they're standing by idly thinking that their needs will be taken care of just like every day. That, you know, like a hurricane kind of thing. Okay, it'll be like a day or 2, 3 days, maybe the weekend the most. They haven't any clue that this could shut down literally society for up to 6 months or more if we aren't.
No. It's longer than that. If
wow.
it falls over,
Yeah.
in terms of society, you're talking 2 years.
Okay, there we go. And that's so you have people who aren't even prepared for tomorrow, Drake. Do we realize this? Most people aren't even prepared for tomorrow.
Well, my people are an exception to that. They listened enough to, well, let's see, that hurricane up in New York.
Yes.
A lot of my people had enough that they were able to share with their neighbors and whatnot.
Right on.
So
right on.
yeah, there's a lot of people that do listen and do pay attention. Now that it's gotten critical, now that it's gotten real, now maybe they'll pay attention a little bit more. Now, for, I don't know, $15, $20, you get 100 pounds of food.
That's right.
That ain't bad.
That isn't.
So, you know, that's just a starter, but,
well,
you know.
I think, you know, that and water, which a lot of people hadn't realized, having an amazing filter, if there isn't any water coming through the municipal, which is possible. It's rarely that. I doubt the municipal will shut down. Just not in this type of biological issue unless something gets tampered with. So I think that'll be fine and functional, but it's always good to have extra water always in the house for anything. I live in Florida, so we're always prepared. We have sandbags, we got everything. In Florida, we're prepared for like if it gets below 40 degrees. We've got stuff stockpiled. We're not used to it over here, you know. So, you know, I think for the most part, our community, those in the prepper community, those in the Intellis community, those in the ET UFO community, we've all been aware and pretty proactive as far as being, prepared for this type of scenario, worst case scenario.
Everybody's going to have to learn what my grandpa taught me, my grandpa and my dad, and that is to be independent, be able to do your own stuff, whatever that may be.
That's right.
And be ready, be the Boy Scout, ready to take on or take care of whatever problem pops up.
I agree. But
there's a bunch of people out there. If somebody was to get a Back to the Basics,
yes.
That's one book I can think of.
Okay.
Another one is preparing. Let's see, what was it? Prepping with no budget at all. Those two books. Well, hey, those two books are, you know, you take $5, $10 and you go get one bag. Nice. You take $5, $10 and go get another bag.
That's right. That's right.
You might have to clean toilets to get the $5, but you're going to eat.
You darn Skippy. I agree. I think that's everybody. Make sure you write down those books. Back to Basics. Drake just put it in there. Can you put it? What was the second one, Drake? You prepping
with no budget at all.
Prepping with no budget. That's what I'm talking about. We got people on here. Listen, that's the book. So these are great. These are great staples just to give you an idea of how to prepare and to be prepared for what's happening now. As far as 5G is concerned, because we were denoting that part of the reason why China, the people were having such a strong reaction to what I personally think was vaccinations that kind of kicked off the virus, number one. I think they were purposefully incepted with the virus. And, you know, they already are trying to enforce that here. They already have it ready. They're telling you they're preparing it. No, Drake, they have that ready to try to enforce every single United Snakes person to take on another virus, a T virus, so that their systems could be nice and hampered and depleted to allow for any kind of inception. So we know that we will.
Well, now, here's a couple of things. If somebody don't want to get sick, there's two things they need to be taken as supplements. And one of those, oh, good grief. I'm glad I'm on the phone. I can walk around. Well, one of them, and what I'm talking about, when I say not getting sick, I'm not talking about your average stuff. No. I'm talking about the things that can be nasty.
That's right.
Let's see, where is it here?
Well, we're used to having oil of oregano. A lot of people do the nano.
Well, one of them is dandelion.
Dandelion's amazing.
Just plain old dandelion. You get these at health food stores. They're not expensive. Dandelion, zinc, and my recommendation is Host Defense. It's got about 25 different kinds of mushroom derivatives in it.
Interesting. What is it
called? And believe me, my wife and I don't get sick.
What is it called, Drake?
It's called Host Defense.
Host Defense. Can someone put that in
comprehensive immune support my community.
Okay. Host Defense.
Now you take those three, and the other thing was to first of all, everybody's worried about this bug. Okay, wash your hands a lot. That's one. Get you a little tube of Neosporin. That's right. And put it around the end of your nose.
That's right. That's old school. That's right.
And you got it. And then if you take those three in there and then do that, the bug is going to see you coming and run.
That's right. I agree with that. That's a great idea, because Neosporin basically will break down any type of bacteria or any kind of viral. It'll kill it.
Pretty much.
Knock it out right before it goes in. That's good. That's good to know. Okay. So as far as the economic system now, that we're seeing that the Dow Jones has dipped now 2 days in a row. Normally, when a lot of people have made cataclysmic predictions about the stock market, they say that it will show up on a Monday when it's shut down. So what's your take? Because we're getting to Friday. If another day of the dip is tomorrow, and I have a prediction, I'm not psychic, Drake. I just have a prediction. I have a prediction that tomorrow might look very similar to yesterday. Not so much today, but maybe yesterday. So if that happens, what is your prediction of Monday? Is it going to be Bloody Monday? Remember back in the 80s, Bloody Monday? What was that song? It was like an old rock song.
Well,
oh, no, it's Sunday.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. My show was on the 22nd on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was titled Money, and I covered all of everything you're talking about.
Yeah.
On Monday, the 24th, they dropped 1,000 points.
Woo!
I get intel from people that know what's going on.
That's right.
So that I can give out good information. Now, the problem here is that closet monster I mentioned.
Oh, yes.
It is coming out. Now, this can be one of two things. It can be either a precursor or something that leads the charge, so to speak, of economic fallover. Now, what I'm talking about when I say economic fallover, specifically, okay, the global portion of that.
Okay.
Not certain individual countries like America has the capability of withstanding something like this.
Yes.
Most others don't.
Sure.
And so where we're at is this thing can be a precursor or a warning that the whole system is very vulnerable.
Yes.
Or it can be a blip that don't mean nothing, or, and this is the third option, the whole damn thing collapses. It'll take about another week and a half for that to take place. I mean, this is only Thursday of this week. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yes.
You know?
What's actually...
Keep your ear to the ground.
What's actually... Is it because, like you said, it's the shipping, it's everything stopping and halting in China, which most people are utilizing their shipping system for all of the deliveries in and out. We're utilizing outsources to bring
immediate ship is what it's called.
Yeah, immediate ship.
And that started back I don't know, in 1990s.
Okay.
I was a part of that.
And this is what's initiating basically the collapsing of the stock market?
Well, no. What you have to understand is nobody's initiating it. The bug was the catalyst or the fuse that lit the firecracker. And when it went off on Monday, everybody about crapped. They did not expect my show to be as accurate as it was. And I told them that I was coming up with intel and that it would come out in some shows. This intel is not anything people don't know or couldn't get on their own. But what everybody has to realize is that this is world economy or the globalism that Trump was railing about. And we shouldn't be relying on China. Well, we have one problem. Medicine, most of it comes from China. So we have factories and research facilities right here, right now, that are working 24/7. And they already have 2 or 3 that look promising.
Interesting.
So figure by next week, you're looking at having these things out.
So this will basically take us up a notch as far as being home based for everything, being independent, and we have to look like we're being I'm trying to think of it, isolationist, let's say. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
We have to look that way when it's not isolationist at all. It's independent and it's also self-defense.
That is true.
We need to be able to defend our country against this stuff. That's why everybody got recalled from all over the world. You're going to find the next people coming back are going to be ambassadors. Bring your family. Let's go.
Okay. So
just that simple.
Yeah, keeping everybody inside the country so it can basically.
Well, if you want certain services that everybody here is accustomed to, the simple living stuff, you're going to have to be here to experience that. Yes. Simply because the rest of the world is shutting down.
Absolutely.
They don't have the defense. They don't have the wherewithal. They did not rebuild their manufacturing for direct consumption by the people that live there. So that's something that Trump's been working on before he was president, actually. And what's interesting about it is that it has not only taken effect. Not only does everybody want a piece of the pie that we got going on here, but they also can find that they then or whoever's here is protected through the holistic attendance to what we need.
Yes. But question.
So there it is. I mean, go ahead.
If in case this is the case, what happens with all the CEOs dipping out? So if this is actually going to be beneficial to us, why do we have all these CEOs stepping down at a very pinnacle point where this could be in our favor as far as industry-wise?
Well, it's the same thing as recently there was somebody that was put up to be Intel security chief or some such, and he declined. Nobody with any kind of brains at all wants to be the target.
Oh.
And believe me, there's going to be quite a large load of targets involved in all this in terms of
there will be.
Who did what to who. Why aren't you providing what you said, what the government's supposed to provide? Well, who said the government's supposed to provide diddly squat?
That's true.
They're supposed to help everybody get to where they need to go, but other than that, they're not supposed to do nothing.
We're not supposed to be codependent on the government. Yes, we're supposed to be independent.
Well, you'll know when this takes place. True independence. You'll know when it takes place in 2 ways. The first, most obvious one is going to be bringing all our troops back.
Yes.
That's first.
Yes.
Number 2, if you want to know what the economy is getting ready to experience, watch your lower end 2, 5, 7 year Treasury bonds. Watch the yield. Ooh. When the 2-year gets to around 1,
yes,
you're cooked. Fried, dyed, laid to the side, and done with.
That's not good. Okay. So that's something to look into. That's something to pay attention to.
But that's only one of the real indicators. The other real indicator is when the government steps in and provides funds, which they can easily do, in order to initiate manufacturing. Now, what you're looking at is not building buildings. you're looking at jumping in with machines, and that would be, say, some of these big box stores, whether it's groceries or what,
Yes.
that have been abandoned or closed up.
Detroit. Well,
Watch
Detroit.
and see. If they all of a sudden start putting manufacturing in that, then you know the jig's up.
Well, okay, because you got to think about Motor City, the original Motor City, which is Detroit, where there's tons of abandoned buildings.
Well, America has the capacity to continue to operate, even if they don't do very much, for about 2 years. And I'm being generous.
Okay.
The experts I've talked to say about a year. So from now, take it to the following year. Okay. The gist of what I'm talking about is that they're making preparations so that we don't have to endure a whole bunch of horse hockey suffering needlessly in the process.
Okay. Well, I mean, that sounds,
Well,
as in
if you can still buy underwear, you're good. Okay.
clean underwear. Wait, clean underwear.
The things I've heard from my intel professionals, they asked me not to get real specific on absolute detail, but the government is going to offer, and this is the independent labs, not the government itself, but the government will be the vehicle of presentation, where if you want a coronavirus injection, you can get one.
Wow. Oh, injection for immunity
It's not a vaccine. It's a shot, straight up. The only thing is in it is the antigen, the thing that stops the disease, and clinically pure water. That's it. No big pharma or any of those mothers have been allowed to get in it at all.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Well, they've got told no. Let's see, what was it? Tuesday of this week. They wanted to get in. No.
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday of this week, all the big pharma people were jumping up and down hollering about how they wanted to get in on it, and they got told no.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is basically, it's an independent.
Well, they're going to think there's a whole bunch of this stuff that's been going on that ain't cool. You got addictive programming on all of your websites and whatnot, excepting mine.
Yeah.
Maybe yours. I don't know how it all works, but you've got addictive drugs. Now, I live in West Virginia.
Yes.
Okay, and there ain't a whole hell of a lot of people here.
No.
Some dink said 700 million tablets of OxyContin to West Virginia.
No.
Yeah. 750 million hits.
For what? Who's taking all that drugs?
That's enough for the whole state to OD more than once.
But why would they? See, this is the problem. Ever since, pharmaceuticals, like the biggest drug dealer, pimping drugs all over the states. This is absolutely insane. Yeah. And, I didn't
they're the ones also that are trying to take all our supplements away from us.
That's another thing.
They want you on their pill, so they can keep you on that pill.
You haven't heard them once.
They want their $2.
Yeah, but it's insanity because I come from island people, so we grow up on herbs. We grow a lot of our things. We eat straight from the vine. But it's so interesting to me that during this time, I haven't heard many of these so-called experts even bring up any natural remedies other than anything that they're pimping out or you have to purchase a lot of money for through them via their vendors. So basically talking about parsley, or talking about thyme, basic herbs, talking about dandelion, things that could clean out the liver, talking about basically cinnamon. Yeah. People who are, if we have a shutdown in society, why aren't you telling diabetics if you put cinnamon sticks in infused water every morning, you drink it in the morning, it will kind of stabilize your blood sugar. They're not telling anybody that. So they're basically saying, oh no, stock up on more prescriptions. Now they don't even call you anymore. They don't even, you don't even have to ask for your refill. They call you to refill it. That's crazy.
When you want your pills, we need the money.
Yeah, they do. And they'll auto refill it. Because my mother, I had to find out different herbs that can balance out the things that she's utilizing, like water pills, things that I know that if the system goes down, I want herbal alternatives. So for every pill that she has, I had to find an herbal alternative. But it's so amazing because every month they're calling her or they're auto giving her the prescriptions. I was like, you're a bunch of sick drug dealing bastards. I mean, this is really disgusting. And I told the doctors, I was like, you're supposed to give her less pills, not more. So let's work together to get her weaned off of some that are not necessary, you know?
Well, I'm gonna jump in and recommend a book.
Yes.
And that's called Nutritional Healing.
Nutritional healing.
It's sort of an encyclopedia.
Okay.
And what it does is it specifically has lists of a combination of things. One of the things it has in there that I really like is certain medicines that or chemical compounds, whatever you want to call them,
Okay.
that Big Pharma likes to push. Okay, but at the same time, it also gives your alternatives.
Okay, that's nice.
It covers, like, if you got a condition, it tells you about what it is and what supplements you probably need
Absolutely.
to rectify it,
Absolutely.
fix it.
Yes, yes. And also,
And it's like $25 or something like that. It's called Nutritional Healing. Any health food store's got it. And my recommendation is that every person who can afford it get it, but also maybe supply one to a clinic.
okay. That's good to know.
You know, start them off on the right foot, get them going the right direction and all that.
Absolutely. That's good advice. Okay. We'll have them write that down. And, you know, another thing that I think that we've got to be careful, because anything that they're promoting, as far as anything that the CDC is promoting, I personally put on my do not disturb list. Do not buy whatever because the CDC is another form of corporate infiltration via CIA or FBI. I don't know which corporation, which governmental agency is behind the CDC, but one of them is. So anything that they're recommending, I personally tell people, be mindful that some of the recommendations could actually be something that could be more harmful than good. And, you know, I know a lot of people use Lysol, but one of the things I said, Lysol has a lot of caustic issue. You know, it's very toxic as far as inhaling it. There are other antimicrobials, antibacterial things that you can use that are a lot safer area-wise, so you're not breathing in chemicals. Maybe killing all the viruses at the same time killing you. It's like chemotherapy for your boxes. While you're killing off the viruses, you're killing out your lungs. You're killing off the cilia of your lungs, your beautiful little fibers on your lungs that are meant to be thriving. And if you keep putting aerosols and smoke and all that kind of stuff in your house, you're going to end up having more issues than not. You won't catch the corona, but you're going to catch something else later on.
Well, anybody that's got problems with their lungs, it comes out pretty simple. A lot of people know, and some don't, that I smoke.
Oh, okay.
And what I do is two things.
Yes.
I smoke only organic tobacco cigarettes.
Okay. Like back in the days. Yes.
Well, they're but American Spirit. This is organic tobacco. There's a big difference.
Yes.
Okay, that's first. Number two. Well, if I'm going to smoke, I might as well smoke something that's not full of chemicals.
The best of the best.
These ain't got no. Yes. And the other thing I take is licorice.
Licorice, yes. Licorice is really good. Yes. Licorice is something I went to go look in the health food store for today. They had ran out. Interesting enough.
It causes your lungs to heal.
Yes.
Now, another thing that I do, I drink a lot of coffee. I put a covering of red clover blossoms. I kind of squeeze them up with my fingers.
Yes.
Okay, in the bottom of my coffee.
Yes.
Then I put a little chicory on there.
Chicory, I use
chicory helps your whole system, actually. Then I put the coffee in and add turmeric. Let's see, is it turmeric? No. Trying to think of that white stuff I put on there. I'm gonna have to go back in the house and look.
Yeah.
I'm out on the porch smoking. It's nice to have radio phone.
Drake is gully. Drake is on the porch smoking, just like in West Virginia. I hear that, Drake. Drake is going out. Drake is like, listen, I'm gonna do what I want to do, but I'm gonna stay here.
Here's what I do. I put let's see here, ginger. On top after I mousse the coffee around and get it flat. I put ginger on it.
Okay.
I put cloves on it, and then I cover that with cream of tartar and cinnamon.
Oh, interesting. Almost like a
Well, not only does the coffee taste dynamite, but it's got all that good stuff in there. A lot of people don't know what that stuff does.
yeah. Interesting.
But if they try it, they'll not go back to the normal, usual things. I can tell you that.
Yes. Well, I usually like when I get off when I'm fasting or I'm trying to get off coffee. What I do when I wean myself off, I go to chicory. Chicory's nice. It's got that nice, robust, very rich taste, and I do that with a little bit of Vermont maple for that sweetness to get a little bit of that chicory give a little sweetness. And maple has a phenomenal amount of flavonoids. It's antimicrobial. When I was in Vermont, Drake, I will say this. Out of all the states I've been to, I travel quite a bit worldwide and in the States. Vermont was the most sound agriculturally. I have to give them all the props. I hadn't been to a state where everything was so wholesome that the people, the children, were physically healthier than most people throughout the states. I was really impressed. And good people in Vermont.
You should come up and see about West Virginia.
Well, West Virginia, y'all grow everything. Your farm state, everybody grows.
That's where I live, right?
Yes.
I actually live at 2,600 feet on a flat part of a mountain.
Woo! That's beautiful. Yeah, growing everything.
Oh yeah, we got bears and mountain lions and deer all over the place and critters and whatnot.
I know, that's beautiful at night. Just hearing everything, all the critters running around. I love it. I think that's
everybody
the way
up here. Well, there's two things about this place. Everybody up here has got a garden. They do not use pesticides.
That's right.
Then I checked with a couple of the local ranchers. People got, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 head of cattle.
Yeah.
They refuse to use chemicals.
That's right. There's something about
so you're back to the old hillbilly way.
Yes. Yes.
If one of the animals they're raising has a problem, there's an encyclopedia, I got to get it yet, that tells which herbs and spices and how much to give, like lambs or goats or horses or whatever, according to what they got.
Yes.
I just, antibiotics don't work, but this stuff does.
You don't have to give the animals antibiotics. Yeah, a lot of times, basically, just animals have their own natural way of breaking down viruses like people do, and they build up antibodies if they're healthy. If we keep giving them corn or dead grass, they're not supposed to eat dead grass, which is hay. They're actually supposed to eat live grass, just like we're supposed to eat food that has energy, not something that's dense and dead. So, once we keep animals, generally will work, especially with horses, because I worked a lot with horses. Horses kind of filtered their system out naturally if they were eating a healthy, robust amount of, they were grazing on really healthy grass that was not sprayed, and they were allowed to roam and thrive, you know what I mean? And be less.
Well, what you'll like up here is not only don't they use chemicals, but almost everything, chickens or whatever, is free ranged.
I love it. That's how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to trap anything in a box.
So when I get something at the grocery, if the hillbillies know that there's something funny with it, it sits there and rots.
That's right, because you could tell.
I go look at the meat case and whatever they got that's hard to get a hold of in terms of they don't have very much of it.
Yeah,
that's what I buy.
I hear that, Drake. So Drake, somebody asked, Mandy asked a question to you. She posed a question to you. She was like, what about ascension? What's your take on the whole living, the love and light community, the ascension, the process of the pole shift? What say you about the ascension? Let's talk about ascension. Do you take that theory?
Well, it is not an ascension.
Okay.
It's a transition.
Transition. That's the name of the show. Exactly. It's a transition.
Well, the ascension, what people don't understand, ascension deals with religiosity, and to me, that's a swear word. Well, I've got, let's see, how many, 5 or 7 books or something like that I wrote on how to turn your cell phone, so to speak. Yeah. And it don't leave nothing out. They're very intense. They're study works, actually. But anyway, the crux of it is this. metamorphosis. In other words, the caterpillar climbs up and makes a cocoon and comes out a butterfly on the other end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
that's a transition.
That is
okay,
a transition.
And this is a natural function that is available according to what the people do to clean up their nest. So the cleansing is happening this year.
That's right.
Now, the problem I have is timelines. I don't know if you're familiar with timelines.
Of course, I just jumped 2 timelines 2 days ago.
Many people aren't.
Yes.
A timeline can be a bunch of different things,
Yes.
but like you go through life, that's your timeline.
Yes.
Everybody you meet, the things you do, and all that's your timeline. Okay. The problem I have is I have a tendency to get a hold of future timelines instead of present timelines. I have made some adjustments, and right now I'm dealing with present timelines, the impacts, what's going on, and all that. It's like this little bug.
Yeah.
It was a catalyst that caused all the shipping to stop. And it's beginning to show everybody, anybody, you don't have to be educated. You can watch the news, you can catch up on it.
Yeah.
Primarily that each individual has to have that pioneering drive, so to speak, to be independent of systems that people think they know better than everybody put in place.
Yes.
Like we get General Motors has problems now assembling things because they can't get the parts from Canada or Mexico or wherever.
We should be
No
making
shipping,
everything.
remember?
We're an industrial. We should be making anything. We're quite capable. Very late. We can be a very lazy country nation, in that we used to do everything. We used to be self-efficient more so than now. I mean, we started outsourcing as a cheaper way. You had corporate systems. My father was on Wall Street for 40 years. I had a father who was a mathematician, a master mathematician. And the one thing that he was not from this country. And the one thing that bothered him so much to say that the Americans were very efficient and needed to stop outsourcing because of cheap labor. They were being greedy.
Yeah.
And by being greedy.
But it's not even that. It's a squeeze every penny out of everything you can.
Yes.
It's called wants and needs and immediate supply.
Oh, that's true.
Immediate instant gratification.
Absolutely.
The convenience stuff that started in the 50s has metamorphed into that closet monster I was talking about.
Yes. Now, let me ask you a question, Jerry, because I have some intel, but obviously we can't say it fully on this channel, but England is a hidden hand. They never get no one gives them credit for as much insidious, underhanding, undermining activity that they do. So you already know what I'm going. Wait. So it's so interesting because they've gotten their hands caught in the cookie jar this time. And there may be what do you think, Drake? Are any
of these CEOs and designers in jail?
No, none of that. No, actually not in England.
That's where the problem lies. Okay, it's like somebody screaming about violation of their rights and not doing a damn thing about it.
That is true.
Same difference.
That is true.
Now, here's the other thing that gets in the way of progress and true progress.
Yes.
And that's a dirty 4-letter word called work. Oh my God, I got to do something.
What'd you say?
Well,
a dirty
the dream meisters like some of the candidates running have some grandiose ideas that nobody can afford and nobody will institute. Now you watch.
Yes.
The Democrats are going to be having a serious problem here shortly because they're going after Bernie.
They got problems every day. The whole Democrats are under.
Most of them.
Well, the thing about it is
most of them they create on their own.
Well, yeah, Democrats are always they're always in other people's pockets, and then the Republicans are always trying to pay people off. So I don't run with either because it's only one umbrella above both of them. They both work for the same team. And their agenda, this is my opinion, their agenda is based on whoever is sponsoring them for whatever they desire at that time. A lot of the people are, the only one who was independent that I had respect for, and you rarely hear me say anything insidious about him, was Trump. Trump came in with his own money. He wasn't really being paid off. That's why he says what he says and he does what he does. I have respect for someone who isn't paid and bought by anyone. It's the first time we've seen that in a long time. Wouldn't you agree?
It's refreshing, but the thing I'd like to see is I'd like to see Trump tone it down just a hair in terms of listen to me, in terms of a combination of things.
Yes.
He can still get just as nasty a message to the people that need to get thumped on the head without doing all the nasties.
Well, he's not. We're talking about a very egregious man who's never had anyone truly say no, and has really employed the most brilliant business corporate men underneath him. So he isn't adjusted to trying to refrain from, engaging in Twitter or twatter activity or saying things that could be egregious that, normally someone would counsel him and say, maybe you should restructure your words or keep that to yourself. Trump is just kind of like that.
Well, it's not so much that, okay?
Yeah.
What it would do, what he needs to do is to employ the same diplomacy that he uses with his friends in terms of taking on the bad guys.
Oh,
now,
I don't think
the deep state is pretty thoroughly ingrained. A lot of people aren't aware as to how far it reaches. Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex. Well, now we have a military-industrial financial complex.
Okay.
In other words, they didn't sit still and just let everything percolate. They decided to take it to the next level. And the problem with what we've got is that the bad guys, whomever they may be, I'm not going to name names, but even though I could, they are getting ready to get taken down. That's why you're hearing such nasty, acerbative comments from people like Schumer.
Okay.
He says the president ain't doing diddly squat. Well, that tells me that they're keeping him out of the briefings. And they're doing that simply because of what he said about blowing up that bad guy general. I'm not going to have you leaking that stuff all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty simple. You can't trust them. So the ideology shifted. It's been a few years, but it's been shifting more rapidly lately from a simple Democratic Party to a Democratic Socialist Party.
Oh, interesting.
So, well,
that is what they're representing.
that's been all over the news. This is why I suggest people, even though they can't stand it and it's full of shit and it's nasty, go ahead and watch some news. Now, I'll recommend two things. You want to hear nasty stuff about present office holders, listen to CNN or MSNBC. You want to hear things that are not necessarily nasty, but are pointed out, listen to Fox.
Yeah.
And we only listen to like 2 or 3 shows even on Fox. Yeah. And I know more than what they're willing to put on the air, put it that way. Well, when you take a broken people and who are also broke, and you put them into a catbird seat, they don't forget that. And I worked with the Indians, indigenous originals, however you want to call that, for a while, and I suggested that they do a couple of things. I even named a couple of things that they needed to do, and how to go about getting involved in it.
Yeah.
Now, they're beginning to be able to not only stand on their own, but stipulate to others how certain things are going to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, just to let you know today, I do a show with Gail of Gia every Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
We couldn't get it to work. They screwed up Skype so bad we couldn't get a connection. Then they went after that other program. I can't think of the name of it. Let's see what we got here. Come on up, dog. Let's see. I'll turn Skype on. We're trying to use.
This is also how
we're trying to use Zoom.
Oh, Zoom.
And they got to that too.
Well, the thing about
they're getting the deep state has a lot of pretty funky monkeys in there doing whatever they feel like they want to do to anybody. So far, they've been able to get away with it.
Well, they have.
Well, some of these platforms that have been hacked, like Yahoo got hacked.
Yeah.
And Skype and a few others.
Well, they'll just usually.
They're going to get their comeuppance on that.
Well, they do it. They do it to try to deter you from keep going on. I mean, with mine, they'll just take a show off. They'll just they'll just take a show totally off, and maybe my show will it'll disappear, and I won't know how it happened. But they do it. But it means that what you're doing, Drake, that's all it does is solidify. All they're doing is martyring you. I always say, well, touche, mon frere, because all it does is give you more credence and credit. They're not very smart. For people who claim to be all these Satanists and Luciferians and doing occult rituals all day, every day, these are not the brightest stars in the sky. Because if you know anything, you are martyring by people going to see a show with you and another intellist, and every time they go to watch it, there's some sort of defragmenting of the show, and infringement on the actual feed. Don't they know that martyrs you? So more people come to those who, because remember, there are tons of people online, and I was telling everybody on my platform, they never have an interruption. They're supposedly intellists. There's never a glitch on their channel. What does that say? And they're being allowed and they're being promoted. That means that is the opposite.
Well, that means that they're part of the intel community that has sold out.
Absolutely. They are part of the ones that are paid provocateurs, agenteers, that are there purposefully to look like they're intellists, but really the whole while they're working for the agenda. It's clear as day.
Yeah.
And they can be bought and sold.
The agenda is the question.
Yes.
Which one?
That is true.
And it's very obvious that they're working for the deep state.
Most probably.
Alex Jones got shut up because he was pointing out nasties they didn't want anybody to hear.
Oh, that's true. Well, he went. Alex Jones went so far. He was shocked. I mean, Alex bothers my peace of mind. But one of the things I will say is that when he started to come after those who have really a lot of control, they shut him out and down, and they still mess with him.
Well, they first cut off his monetization of his show.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was first. Then they took him off channel.
Yeah,
he had a TV channel, and they took that away from him.
Yeah, they took him off a lot of channels.
And then they said that he couldn't do anything on any of the social media. So now what he's doing is similar to what you're doing.
Yep.
He puts it together, puts it on YouTube, and there it is.
Yep, privatize it. Because you have to do it, because they'll come after you. And at this point, I told people all the time, this channel has never been bought or sold. I am independent. I do what I want to do, and I talk about what I want to talk about. There isn't anybody puppeteering above me or below me. And that is something I've been doing for a long period of time. But because you come into this community with integrity, or just coming to collect those of you who are in similar frequency, that was always my primary focus, was me and those who are resonating with whatever I'm sharing. So I wasn't caring about anybody outside of that. But there are people on here who have an agenda. And it just is what it is. That's what they do. But everyone should know not everything that glitters is gold.
Yeah, well, gold's continuing to go up, so silver.
Oh, well, listen, I bought my gold 13 years ago. I bought my gold. And when people were saying, oh my God, why are you obsessing with prepping? I said, well, listen, because I was pregnant at the time. I was like, I want to have some gold, and I want to have an investment in case this system falls down. I said, it's going to collapse. I know the pole shift's coming. So I already knew. I said, but but now, oh my gosh, I wish I did it. You should have taken heed. It wouldn't have hurt anybody at the time. You could have bought gold coins 13, 14 years ago, a fraction of the cost that it costs now for you to buy them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're asking about
Last
California.
intel. This is interesting. Hold on a second here. Let me see what.
Yeah.
That's not today. That was last week. Monday, the 17th. This must be the 21st. Okay. See, I do several things. One is to pay attention to my intel, and number two is to get people to where they find that enlightenment everybody's wondering about.
Yes. Yes.
It's up to the individual, not me. And a lot of people didn't understand why I wrote books. Well, they're actually pamphlets, and they're not, like 25 pages or something each. And what's interesting about them is that they explain things. And I mean, you don't have to have any kind of knowledge or anything like that. It just explains them.
I like that.
So,
I like that. Easy breezy, cover girl.
Well,
yeah, I like that.
Anyway, Gail has a website that has the books on it. Every time she puts them up, the website gets hacked.
What?
So we're working out a deal
Give us a name.
where I can. I'm gonna put them up on my American National Militia website.
Okay. So we can purchase them
It's
there?
got about. It costs me about $1,500 a year for that thing.
What?
Or thereabouts.
Wow.
Okay. Hey, let's put it this way: it's bulletproof.
Okay, so that's worth it. No, I like that. Okay, it's nice to have a nice space.
Yeah, so that's why I spend money. Now everything I get, I don't charge for anything. You can copy, download, print it out, or whatever.
Yes.
Some people have done that with all my books, put it in a binder. And the thing about it is that it is extraordinarily intense in terms of getting a person to get to where they need to be, irrespective as to anything else.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they find out that some of the things I talk about are very real. So, it helps a lot, and it's helped a lot of people. I got one guy here I'm going to have to put a book one in to the Skype room I'm in.
Yes. So, question.
He's asking.
Drake, there's a lot going on in California.
Yeah.
California's red hot right now because the seems like the focus right now in some ways is California. And it's interesting because when Trump first came into office, he made the hugest stink about that wall, saying, listen, I'm getting my wall, whether we pay. Remember he shut down the whole government for nobody remembers that. Do you remember when he shut down the government? I thought, oh my God, he's got cojones. He got a big cojones to do that.
Did you hear the latest on that?
No, share with me. Share it. That's what I want to know about Cali, because a lot is going on in California.
Well, there's two things going on. Number one, he sent command centers. Now, when I say he sent command centers, you're talking about special operations soldiers that happen to be a part of what's going on.
What?
Okay. Hey, I'm just letting everybody know.
Yeah.
Those hold on now. Those command centers are being set up specifically to direct U.S. military troops to arrest certain individuals who have decided that they can flaunt the federal laws, like immigration, sanctuary, and all that.
Yes.
Now, he just won his big court case earlier this week where he can withhold federal funds to any state that decides they can flaunt the federal laws.
Oh.
So now Trump is sitting there going, okay, and he put some people in charge, sent them out there, and they're basically what's going to happen is we're waiting for warmer weather, nicer weather.
Yes.
And so you're talking about somewhere, I'd say end of March, 1st of May, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
To really start seeing some changes. Now, when I said that we was going back towards the law and order era, I meant that.
Okay.
And this is for everybody. When a landlord discriminates, he's subject to being arrested immediately.
Yes.
Not playing in court or any of that sort of thing. When somebody discriminates because of the color of a person or their lifestyle or whatever, they're liable to end up in federal court and go do federal time for those infractions. The ideology is this, and I had this in a gun magazine. I read several gun magazines, so I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And this particular gun magazine stipulated that about rights, that the civil rights applied to everybody, that the First Amendment can be forced legally into any place, that you do not have the right to discriminate according to a person's nationality or whatever they may be.
Yes.
So get ready, because there are things about the size of a Greyhound bus just about ready to hit the rotating oscillator and just splatter stuff everywhere.
What? Oh, snap. Okay.
You heard me.
Woo.
They're going to come after people. Like, think about this very carefully.
Yes.
The governor of a state is not immune. They arrested the mayor of Los Angeles the other day. ICE arrested him.
Wait,
Okay?
Drake. You go, wait, Drake.
Okay, now, so think about all of the senators and congressmen that authored this crap, and they get to do time, or they can repeal all of that.
Oh, wow.
That's their choice.
Wow. Oh, it's going to be like the Wild Wild
So
West.
it's getting ready to hit the fan. I have sent the legal manner in which you remove somebody from public office, and I'm not talking about no recall. I'm talking about almost instant removal for violation of their oath of office. I sent that all over Virginia, everywhere I could get to.
I'm getting chills up my spine. This is going to be turning heads. This is going to be...
Well, people want to play games in terms of legislation, like red flag laws. Well, I'm sorry, baby cakes, but the Constitution says that if you don't abide by due process, where you can actually face your accusers, then the whole thing's bogus. So that means that the FISA court goes. That means that the secret crap stops. And we're going to take a whole bunch of these dingle-dangs that think it's fun to play games with people and stick them in the toilet and play let's see if it'll float.
Is Nancy
if it don't float, you flush it.
Well, if it's up to Trump, Nancy Pelosi is going to be on that witch list. She's going to be on
You better believe it.
She's going to be on the head list of heads turning. She better pick her outfit now for her raiment, because it's on and popping, because he's got guns a-blazing for her. She's been coming from him from day one.
Can you imagine a designer orange jumpsuit?
Let me stop. Nancy Pelosi, she isn't my cup of tea. It's going to be very interesting. She still wear red. Lauren says she'll still wear red. She'll have like red jumpers. She's like, I can't wear it. I gotta wear that. Anyway, okay, so Drake, so now we're seeing this occurring. We see that there's a impending possible financial collapse. Now, as we go forward, let's talk about how this shutdown of many countries, especially the additional countries that we've been so codependent on, like China, Iran, oddly enough, I got a lot of Iranian friends, big to our Iranian family on here. They have also been purposefully targeted, which I feel like Italy. You kind of put that in my wind a little bit. So I'm thinking it's probably a little targeting there with Iran, because Iran was one of the countries that, the states was a little concerned with their, not even their technological advances, but their advances as far as nuclear advances. Oh, we're starting to get echoing.
They don't have nuclear standing yet,
and it's
going to be a while.
Okay. Yeah, I thought they had some concerns about their nuclear power testing in Iran, but they're not even.
They don't have. That's the thing. They're producing the stuff at a rapid rate, but they're not in. They don't have the capability of using it in a manner that would do a number on the world, so to speak.
Now, when we talk about...
And if they get to that, now here's the other part. If they get to that point, there's 15 nations that are going to bomb them flat.
Oh, okay. So
now, think about that very carefully. 15 nations are going to jump on them if they decide they're going to play that game.
Aren't they in bed with Russia, though? Because Russia's like a hidden hand in all this as well. Not so much hidden, but putting him in his clonies, you know, because he's got replacements all over the place. I don't even know if he's in office anymore, but because he has doubles. But, you know, him and Putin are really, Putin are pretty close. And... you know, there was always a concern that if Venezuela wasn't as destabilized as it is now, purposefully, that they would be a triple threat.
Not exactly. Venezuela is not, never has been a threat.
Oh, wow.
Never could be. They're not set up that way. It's like saying that you got to watch out for Iran. Well, yeah, really? Okay. What's going to take place is going to be nasty. Now, everybody's heard about the crusade, but a lot of people don't know what it was.
Explain.
What happened was that you had a bunch of Muslim pirates that were pretty much pirating the whole of the Mediterranean Sea. Mm-hmm. And everybody finally got tired of that, so they put together a big army, and they went in and went after them. The first incursion was successful in terms of the battle was won by so-called good side. The second battle, not so much. Reason being is that a couple of the people that had studied the tactics used in the Crusades were on the Muslim side, and they pretty much wiped out the Crusaders. Mm-hmm. They sent a few of them back, said, "Don't come back." Well, we sent official, and by we, I mean the Western countries, America, Britain, France, Spain, Germany, etc. We sent a signed petition to the leaders of the Muslim world at that time and said, hey, real simple, if you don't fix this, all of us are coming. Everybody that can swing something that kills, we're coming.
Oh, wow.
If that's what you want, then don't take care of it. Well, what happened was that the loyalists to the imams went with the imams, and they wiped out the pirates. And when I say wiped them out, there wasn't anybody left alive.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking between actually there's about 5 battles, but altogether, you're talking about 2 to 5 million people being executed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now that, you know,
that's a lot. That's a lot. That's
by their own hand.
Okay.
That's the, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Now, a lot of people look at veterans' rights and this and that and other things. One day, a long time ago, Congress and the Senate decided to give everybody a bonus of $20. Well, they kept hemming, hawing, and delaying, and finally the veterans set up camps in that park across the street from the White House.
Love it.
Well, it came out pretty badly because one of the main famous generals set up machine guns and run a combination of bulldozers and fire through the camps and destroyed it and run them off. Yeah, you heard me.
Oh, my God. Oh.
There was a guy that had a corncob pipe and 6 guns that he carried, and he was the one that gave the order. His assistant was Eisenhower.
Wow.
So this goes back generations, all right? If you know, look at Ruby Ridge and who authorized what, and who the assistants were, who all the staff was. It'll shock you. Now, people want to get to a point of equality. Well, there's an equality coming, and it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice pay for a job well done. You work, you get paid decent. Now, a lot of people go, ooh, $15 an hour. That's horse hockey. I hate to tell you, but freedom of an individual starts at 20. We plan to pay more than that.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So there's a whole bunch of things getting ready to change. The stuff that we're doing won't be required or necessary anymore, simply because I know for a fact that they already got lists of the names of the people that, I don't know, you call it dirty or deep state or cabal or whatever.
Yeah.
We already know who they are and where they're at.
Wow.
And there's a bunch of things getting ready. Well, this is an economic catastrophe on a global basis. And if you take $4.5 trillion out of systems, now you have to understand, it ain't just American oligarchs that were invested in what was lost. There's a load of people all over the world
globally,
that have lost a considerable amount.
There's people right now. Did you hear? There's a couple people right now that killed themselves. I mean, that it devastated a lot more regular people. Some people who were just ordinary people who had a lot of invested in some of the stocks.
Yeah, well, the problem with all that is I told people starting in 2010 when I was first on the radio, this is 10 years ago and before, get out of the stock market. Turn it into cash, take the cash down, buy gold and silver, and keep it on hand. Find a place to hide it.
Same thing I knew. Same thing my father had said. It's not going to be tangible for long. The influxes are too great. And when it does collapse, you'll lose everything that you've earned and you've progressed over the years. So what's the point of you earning this and keeping it in there just basically lose it all? Like a crap shop.
Exactly. Then you go the other step further and you'll find that they passed a law during the Obama administration where anything you deposit, be it a safety deposit box or an account, is the property of the institution you deposited it in.
Oh, yes, I found that out when my uncle died, and we tried to access his deposit, and they were saying that they could keep because we're foreigners, and I was like, well, we have a lot of things in there. They said they had the right. Finally, we had access to it, but they said they had a right to collect it, especially if you didn't go in. If someone passed and you didn't know, they could keep it. I didn't know that. I thought they had to. Well,
that's where the idea of militias come in. There was a group of veterans once who knew that the city that they lived in was corrupt, and the bad guys tried to take the ballot box. Well, the good guys got there first, and not only were they armed, but they had an attitude problem that eliminated a good number of the police force. By the time that the feds got there, the city jail police department was the only place where the bad guys were holed up, and it was surrounded.
Wow. And
they exonerated the veterans for taking charge of the situation. It's like the 89-year-old little old lady had 3 drug addicts break in her house.
Aww.
Well, she called me, went over to the closet, got out the AK-47, and went down and visited permanent retribution on them.
Granny came down and gave him a little bit of emancipation.
One of them survived, but the other 2 didn't. Now, this is an 89-year-old lady.
That's what I'm talking about. I plan to be like her. Drake, that is my goal. Drake, she is the future timeline of Flurboom. I will be in that. If you come for me in mine, or you aren't righteous, if you step anywhere in my arena and you go anywhere near my people, you too will be met like me, like Granny. I'm gonna be that Granny. I'm gonna be like her.
Well, it's pretty simple. If you want something that really works and works very well, and it don't matter whether somebody's wearing double vests and body armor. There's a thing called a Magnum deer slug that fits most 12 gauges.
Yes, that's old school. Wait, they still sell that? Wait, at the gun shows they used to have that.
1,350 feet per second.
Woo! That's fire. That's fire.
And now listen to me, it's 1 ounce of lead.
Are you serious?
This ain't one of them 30 grain bullets.
Woo!
This is a 1 ounce glob of lead.
Oh, this person they're gonna drop. They're gonna drop it like it's hot. But But so they get hit.
Well, it blow them right back out. It blow them out back out the door, and they probably clear the porch too.
Break the
That's
door.
the idea. But I recommend now two things.
That's
Prep.
a bounce though.
Okay, I recommend two things.
Yeah.
Prep. Get you some kind of a situation going where you don't have to rely on electricity.
That's right.
That's one. In other words, you need some kind of a camp stove, all right? And you need a lot of fuel. Okay. You also need to, like I said, keep your food. Don't tell nobody you got bags of food.
Okay.
Get a trash can, one of them plastic trash cans.
Yeah.
You can put. I put 150 pounds in one of them.
Okay.
You get 3 bags in that sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the other part.
Oh,
Most people don't understand that if or when it's discovered. Now this is if society falls apart. If they discover you got food, they're going to come after it.
Of course.
So you're going to need a gun of some sort.
You do.
Just that simple.
A couple.
And if you ain't got one, you can go to the pawn shop and get one pretty cheap.
That is true.
Or private sale.
A private sale is the best though, because you get some of the classics, some real good, powerful ones that are not in circuit. So sometimes, I think the little, I think some of the more modern day pieces don't do as much, are not as powerful as some of the old school pieces. A classic.
Well, yeah, the shotgun I got you was a used riot gun by a police force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and for $50, I got more than my money's worth.
Woo! See, that's nice. I like it. My mate does.
Yeah, well, you can go to auctions. You can go to, I would find out if anybody knows anybody.
Yeah.
All you got to do is put the word out. Hey, I'm looking for a 12 gauge, preferably a pump or semi-auto. Something that don't cost a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what happens. Just put the word out.
I agree, and you can actually do that before, because what happens in Virginia? Remember when they did the march? There was the protest, and they were anticipating that it was in Washington. What was it in? Was it in Virginia or Washington? Remember the protests, and there was some sort of legislation made at the time. They were anticipating that the protesters would be violent, and they were absolutely the opposite, and it had to do with the gun laws. What happened? What was the amendment?
That was Virginia.
That was Virginia. What amendment did they make? They made an amendment that the day after or that week.
They instituted pretty much instant law. No guns on the grounds of the Capitol.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here's the problem with that. They say no guns on the Capitol. Well, first cop you see has got a gun strapped on. He needs to be arrested by the people.
That's right.
Now they wanted to instigate confiscation of so-called assault weapons.
Yes, they did.
Most idiots don't understand what an assault weapon is. An assault weapon is very simple. It looks like your standard AR-15. The only difference is it goes full auto.
Yeah, it's multiple. Yeah.
That's an assault weapon. That's the definition of assault weapons by manufacturers and the United States military.
Yes.
So, anybody who wants to know about their gun rights, look up the Dick Act. It can't be changed, can't be amended, cannot be repealed.
Okay.
And what's interesting about it is that anything that the federal government uses with their troops, you can use, you can have. If you want a friggin' battle tank and you can afford it, and you want to plant petunias on the front of it and stick it in your yard, you can do so.
We got some people in the country who still do that. They got it. I know somebody who has something like that. That's true. And that's what, but what's interesting? That's what a lot of people don't know, because they always kind of intimidate the perspective that it's only the military that's allotted certain kind of arms. But really in itself, I'm glad you mentioned this, we have the rights to obtain arms of the capacity of the people who are servicing us. Because the point of you having it is to protect yourself.
Anyway, anybody that wants to know, look up the Dick Act, and it stipulates, so very simply, anything the military got except atomic weapons. Now, you can't be doing that. Any weapon that they got, you can have one.
All right.
Be it a machine gun or whatever, it doesn't matter.
All right. Okay. So this
you might have a big argument with some people about that, but that's up to you as to, how far you want to go with it.
Well, we got people in the Midwest who are holding that true. That we've got some nice gun toters. I got to give a big up. They're just a nice little, prepping community that I've known for years, and they're ex-military, and they're nicely equipped for anything that occurs. And I always found it very fascinating that they always get these, a lot of the local police have an issue with this particular group, but they're well in their rights as far as constitutionally.
Well, it depends on what the group does, number one. Number two, well, you don't harass the police. It's not a good idea to harass the police. You don't need to do that.
Not
Doesn't
at all.
serve any purpose that I know of.
Absolutely.
But the main thing is this. West Virginia has outlawed, supposedly outlawed, having a militia.
Yeah.
You may not do military training and all this other happy stuff in it.
Okay.
There's a problem with that, and that is that everybody at the age between the age of 14 and 16, male and female, are automatically drafted into the militia.
Oh.
On a constitutional basis. A lot of people don't get that one. Okay, so if the militia is designed to keep order in a state, then the state can't outlaw it.
Interesting.
Now that order, well, the order
itself
may be the type that goes directly to why we have a Second Amendment.
Okay.
The reason we got a Second Amendment is so that we can be on par and have the ability to fight back against a tyrannical government if that ever came about.
Absolutely.
That's what the Second Amendment's about.
Absolutely. And that's fair. That's fair enough. I think that's it's interesting. This is interesting as how it's going to turn out. Well, okay. So let's go a little bit. Yes.
I'm looking at being able to operate a lot more freely in the near future.
Yes.
As I understand it, the collateral accounts are about to be opened. So
okay.
What that's going to do is this. I'll probably be East Coast since I live in this area.
Yeah.
And what I intend to do is very simple. We have a lot of, I don't know what you'd call it, dilapidated or decrepit or not in good repair buildings. Mm-hmm. Well, how about we start a company where they go in and fix everything?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, if it's the plumbing, the heating, whatever. Okay? Awesome. And that company is primarily locals.
Oh, be nice. Yes.
People who live in the neighborhood can start out. Now, listen to me carefully. They start out, everybody,
local.
$10 an hour.
Yes.
Now, they can get a raise within minutes. So, and when I say a raise, I'm not talking about 15, 20 cents. I'm talking about dollars.
Yes, yes.
Everybody starts at 10. By the end of the day, if you put in a good day, you're making at least 15. Awesome. And some of them will be making 20.
Awesome. I think that's great incentive.
So, well, you've heard of urban renewal. Think about going down the block and letting people know that you're there. Hey, we're going to repair your house.
I love it.
On the outside first, and everybody that wants a job, you got one, go to work.
Yes, I love that.
Very simple.
Yes,
that gives you a combination of locals taking pride in what they got surrounding them.
Absolutely.
It gives the people that have the home a greater sense of pride when it looks really nice.
Absolutely.
So,
I love that.
It's a win-win.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's balanced. And this is where I respected the Amish communities, some of the more rural-based communities that were, more tribally, I call them tribal-based kind of sort of. They always fixed each other's houses. When a couple got married, they all came together collectively, the plumber, whoever did the, the sheetrock. They'd all come together as a community and built the house for the new couple, however they wanted it. And I always thought that we lost a little bit of ourselves. We aren't as communal as we used to be. And I think this is something that with such a calamity, which could be beneficial to us as a more social, united front. Sometimes when we have a lot of chaos is when we come together.
There's a combination of things going into this, and it's going to be convoluted. I've got some ideas about what needs done, and the thing about it is I will have the money to be able to see to it that those things do happen, and happen correctly. So what is going to have to be found is somebody that, and it don't matter if somebody don't like them. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is that it get it done.
Yes.
You got to scrape a whole house down. That's a lot of labor.
It is.
But if you're getting good money, and you'll scrape harder.
That is true. That is
scrape
true.
it down.
A lot more pride
Scrape
in your
it down,
work.
seal it up, and paint that turkey. I mean, it's well. I like the concept and always have.
Yes.
Having worked and having been involved by my family in civil rights since I was a kid, kind of put me in a little bit different shoebox than most.
Yes.
And I don't look at anybody according to the color of their skin.
Nah.
I do what King said. The content of the character.
Yeah.
And it works.
It does.
Really does.
That's more of a that's a system
So
that was meant. Yeah.
What other questions have you got for me? You got any other questions, or?
Yeah. Well, as far as the pole shift, what is your take on the pole shift, which is supposed to occur in 5 or 6 years? The actual planetary shift with the magnetic field switching. It's been doing that. I mean, it's always done that, but it's gone. It's perpetually sped up from within the last 3 or 4 years, higher than it's ever. And we see that the polar caps are melting to the point where the sea levels will indefinitely rise. Where do you say, what's your opinion? I have my own take on the pole shift.
Well, this ain't the first time.
Oh, it isn't, and it won't be the last.
No, there's been scientists for years been digging up woolly mammoths that been thawing out of the permafrost and whatnot on the poles, both of them.
Yes.
And what they found that really shocked them or surprised them was that the woolly mammoths were eating tropical plants.
Yes, it was a tropical planet. This planet originally was a tropical and a warm planet all over.
Not exactly.
No?
It started out the hard way. We had a collision with another planet.
Oh,
that's where a lot of the seawater and whatnot came from. But the thing about it is that after that took place, we had what's called a nuclear winter. That's where you got a whole bunch of dust and dirt and whatever thrown in the air, and it cuts off the sunshine. First thing happened was the planet froze solid. Then slowly over a period of time, it started thawing out. And when it thawed out, the First Nations in the first density, oh boy, the first dimension people came out. Now they came out from underground. The second density people also came out from underground. And now we're up to 3D. And if you go and ask Eskimos about it, especially somebody that knows what their history is, you will find that they are one of the ones, their race are one of the ones that came out from underground. So you have had at least 2 major civilizations, some of them not too bright, as in the Cro-Magnons kind of thing. But you had at least 2 total complete civilizations come up from underground. The reason they went underground goes back even further. Before the last, let's see here, attack that the planet endured, the people, the entities that did it in such a way that it looked like it would be natural. The first thing they did was drop little balls of fire about every 2 feet. And these are little, it's like a magma ball, In other words, it's liquid dirt, several thousand degrees kind of thing. When that thing hits and splatters, it causes fires. A whole freaking planet burn up. That was the first one. Then we went into the nuclear winter from that, all the smoke in the air and everything. Then the big, I don't know what you call it, kill-off came about. And it was primarily due to volcanic activity, filling the atmosphere with all kind of nasty gases. It killed almost everything on the planet. There are a few in the oceans, in certain places, and certain places in mountainous areas that survived. That's what we got. That's what the leftovers are that we have today. Then you have well, you can ask Indians here in the States. They'll tell you, you ask them where they come from, and they point to the sky. The reason they point to the sky is because they were dropped off.
Exactly.
And
I do know that. Yes, we have visitors, quite a few visitors. Yes.
Oh, no. These are people that have stayed.
Oh.
Many of the Indian tribes that were dropped off are still here.
Yes, from the Pleiadians, and they remark themselves as being the brethren of the stars. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So then you have people like me. I'm a little bit different from most anybody that you ever run across, in that I am one of the originals. Now, by that I mean I existed before creation.
An ancient.
There were several of us that did. Okay, we got to watch, which was one hell of a about the neatest fireworks display I've ever seen. And then the interesting part about that is that I work with ETs. The reason I work with ETs is because they are the ones that are primarily responsible for what we're into presently.
Absolutely. Yes.
They got us together, initiated, and tried to teach people, and I can get over on everybody if I know this stuff, and that's where the fun and games kind of started. So then we had the fact that I got tired of being a bad guy. I was tired, physically, mentally exhausted. So I went to sleep and I took a nap. I woke up about 80 years ago, give or take, 85.
Wow.
And this one ET I knew, one I thought was always full of stuff, said that there was a new program and that I ought to check it out. And I said, well, you think I'd be interested? He said, I don't know. You need to check it out, though. Why? It's a bit different than anything else. And I don't know if nobody paid attention to any of this stuff, but the crux of it is that an entity could volunteer to be incarnated in human form. And my life has been really, really freaky all the time. Well, the main thing about it is that I revert back to my pretty much original format. I weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 or 4,000 pounds. Okay, and I'm the brightest red color you've ever seen, and that is my designation, red.
Yes.
That's who I am.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, I have been talking to ET about all these things.
Yes.
Then they said, and they're giggling, and I said, what are you giggling about? He said, just keep watching. This is going to get hilarious. I said, what do you mean? Oh, you're going to have people that we're rich and ain't anymore, and, they're going to be running around a neighborhood naked and stuff and just losing it.
Yes.
So primarily, I'm looking forward to all that.
It will be very interesting.
Now, one of the things I do is highly high-level sciences. And one of the things I've got to do, as a matter of fact, I'll be starting, I keep trying to get it started, and I don't seem to get it off the ground. I'm going to have to totally allocate time. Anyway, I'm going to be putting a workbench in downstairs, and I've got a system that taps into what's known as dark energy. That's one of the fabrics of existence in terms of the cosmos. And it'll produce all the electricity you want. And there's no moving parts, no fuel put in or any of that.
Free energy. Is that what you're saying? Free energy.
No, it's not for nothing. There ain't no such thing as free energy. That is a real misnomer. Well, you got this taps into another supply of energy.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
I see. Okay.
Big difference. Anyway, the electrical engineer that designed a portion of the system, and I know where he got his information. Part of it's Tesla technology, but anyway, he put together a system that was wasn't very big, and it would produce 240 kilowatts of electrical power.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I'm going to build. What I'm going to design is very simply about 28 kilowatts. That's about what the new homes would use, or my house.
Yeah.
Normally, the power companies allocate 200 amps, and that it works out to 24 kilowatts. Well, you need a little bit more a lot of the time. So I'm going to put it together in such a manner that it produces about 28 kilowatts. And I'm going to be, I got to work up the circuit, which shouldn't be too difficult. The design parameters for it, in other words, how to build it yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll be offering kits. You get the starter circuit.
Yes.
Which is all you got to do is plug it in, basically, into the system now, not into the wall socket. And basically, you put the collectors in the right order, hook them up, and off and down the road you go.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love that idea. Fantastic.
Well, there's going to be a lot of electricians that are not going to be too sure about it, but I'm going to have this guy that works local. He's an electrician. He's supposed to know all this stuff. They got a switch system because the power goes out a lot up here. Yeah. It automatically switches over to your generator.
Yes.
And they use them with let's see, what is it? It's a commercially manufactured big old generator. Anyway, they're used with that so that when it senses there's no power, it starts up and the switch kicks over and you go from the power lines right to the generator. Well, this thing, like I said, and it doesn't use fuel.
Oh, no.
It doesn't have any moving parts.
Wow.
So it ought to last just about forever. Now, you can make them a little bitty or great big. It's up to the individual.
Yes.
But they're not something that anybody that can operate a hacksaw. Yeah. If you know how to use a hacksaw, you'd be and a screwdriver, you'd be just fine. Yeah. So I'm going to be offering those pretty soon.
That's awesome. We'll support you.
That's one thing I'm doing.
We support you 1,000%. Whatever you need, just let me know. I think that is amazing, and I think this would free up everyone from being so codependent on electric, or, low elf wave energy that's being sourced from artificial means. This would be something more natural, healthier, and would have zero radiation, radioactive, influence.
There is no radiation from this system at all.
I love that.
None.
I love that. This is amazing.
I tell you, I checked it out, and he had that as a note in his papers that I read.
Yeah. Yeah, this is awesome.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be playing mad scientist in the basement.
Be careful, Drake. You might go into another dimension. A couple.
No. It takes more than that little system to do what you're talking about. But
Okay.
yeah, it's available.
That'd be awesome. Well,
Everybody knows about the Bermuda Triangle. That things disappear and all this other happy stuff.
Yeah.
There's several of those triangles around the planet. Now, here's the deal. Recently, the one in Ireland produced a ghost ship.
Ooh.
Now, a lot of people, they look at a ghost ship now. Oh, it disappeared 9 years ago. And what was really freaky was not so much that it came back after 9 years, but that the crew was on it.
They were intact. Oh, wow.
They didn't know what the hell happened. They were real curious about where they's at.
Yes.
How shocking. What's the date today? Well, let's see. I think it's Thursday.
Did they manifest? Were they able to manifest?
No, man, the year.
Were they able to manifest fully, or just a ghost ship kind of showed up and then faded back
It
out?
just kind of showed them. Oh, that's the problem. We don't watch closely enough.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows exactly what kind of thingies it went through in terms of coming back.
Yes.
But it came back. Now, that's just one. There's, been 5 or 6 of them lately.
Ooh, because the veil's collapsing.
Few months or so.
Interesting.
But, and that's just one of them.
Yeah.
Now, here's the deal. Transition.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Not a lot's going to change in terms of what people notice. Human frequency will settle back down to a new frequency, but it'll also be in a new waveform. And it's not going to be the old waveform that everybody's used to. When the human frequency does that, it's like flipping the light switch and having the light go on. You just went from 3D to 4D. What's neat about it is that you won't notice very many changes. But we're going to have a whole load of people who are very familiar with it all, teaching us how not to, blow up the neighbor's cat or, things of that nature. We're going to have a whole bunch of online as well as satellite and cable TV and all that.
Yes.
We're going to have classes. You got to attend the classes. You don't have a choice. Everybody goes, including me. I might be able to test out of it.
Yes.
Some people probably won't, but I do have that capability. But the interesting part about it is how to function. Now, everybody's used to this test tube 3D where you got old age, you got this, you got that, aches, pains, and whatever. That goes. That don't mean that you're going to all of a sudden be a 20-year-old, but it goes. Now, some of the classroom things that are covered, very simply, goes to what the new rules, limitations, what you're allowed to do, and how to access certain powers.
Absolutely.
So all of that is coming. That's part of the transition.
I agree. Certain people are already experiencing part of the gene expansion or gene expressions that are more that junk DNA kind of coming into activation. So some people are having heightened amount of telepathic communication, which is really one of the way that we used to communicate, which is a dormant way of communicating that we haven't used fully in a long time. So I've heard of a lot of people having that ability. There's a couple of abilities of people blinking in and out, coming, power of, I wouldn't call it a power. Yeah, you see them and then you don't. So they're blinkers. I call them blinkers because they just disappear and then they come back. So I thought that was always one of the coolest abilities that I was able to witness. So there's a lot of these latent abilities coming online.
If you want to really get into it, well, you find out that the cat and the dog and whatnot are telepathic as well and can talk to you.
Absolutely. Well, that many of us already have had that occurrence, yes. Very fully. And a lot of times I had a girlfriend whose cat called her on the phone. I'm being honest. called her on the phone. She
Yeah.
they because remember they have their own energetic fields and they also ascend to a certain level of height. Well, I don't think it's that they're ascending. I think we're able to ascend to be able to understand them more so.
Are you sure about that?
Maybe. We shall see.
Hey, I'm just kidding. I'm just fooling. Now, there's a book out there called Secret Life of Plants.
Oh, yes.
And I recommend everybody get a hold of a copy if they can find one and study it thoroughly.
Absolutely.
A bunch of students decided to check out plants.
Yes.
And they found out about the heartbeat.
Yes.
They found out about the capability of it knowing who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sometimes, if somebody's really stupid about it or radical or whatever, and come in and just totally destroy a plant, then they come back in, sometimes the plants actually have a nervous breakdown over that.
Yeah, they do. The trees also, what's interesting is that, well, I come from a native indigenous from the Caribbean, but we were always taught that to honor the trees, and also the roots were telecommunication network where they talked amongst each other throughout miles away. So trees could telecommunicate with other trees from great distances. And that sometimes when we were separated as families, we were told to talk to the roots, and the roots would communicate the message to our ancestors on other lands. And it always worked. So, this concept, of, remember the phone line back in the days, the cup, and you put the string and then another cup at the other end? There was actually a science behind them doing that, just having a knowledge that we're supposed to telecommunicate. The trees have telecommunication with us all the time. We're just not as receptive to it. Those of us who are in the agricultural community, we know this because I know when times I don't even see one of my trees outside, when he's thirsty, he will call me to come outside. I'll be in the house and just the thought of him will come in my head, and I'll go out and say, oh my gosh, you're thirsty. That is a communication that many of us have lost from being disconnected from nature. So it's going to be interesting to see the evolutionary process of people acknowledging that plants are just as cognitive, if not sometimes supersede our intelligence, because the human is not the smartest being on this planet. If we were, we wouldn't be burning, dirtying water.
We're smart. We just lost most of it. That's all.
Well, dumbed down.
I mean,
yeah.
If we go back, if we start regressing into the realities that you're talking about, then it's going to be really interesting to see people that would normally be obtuse to our existence come around to the proper way of thinking.
Ooh, that'd be
That's
awesome.
going to be really neat.
That'd be beautiful. I'm receptive to that. I really want that. It just would be an easier world for some of us who are a little more awake. It'd just be a more cohesive world. Not walking around people in a bird box. See, if you saw the movie The Bird Box, people walking around with their head covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hunting for a book and I can't seem to find it. I wonder what happened to it. I'll have to ask the wife about that.
It'll pop in. So let me see.
Well, what it is, it's native horsemanship.
Ooh.
And it stipulates horse, follow me closely. And what a true how can I express this? What a true horseman does is you never have to give a command.
Oh, yes. I like that. Yes, yeah.
The horse knows and telepathically
Absolutely.
what you're going to ask it to do, and it does it.
It anticipates the thought. It hears the thought or pre-thought.
No, it knows the thought.
Ah.
It's just like you was talking to it. And it fully understands, and off and down the road you go.
Telepathic communication. Beautiful.
Yeah. And it teaches you how to do that. It teaches you how to bond with the horse so that you get into reality of what's really there.
I agree.
So,
I agree. I know it's possible.
So in the next few days, I'm going to be working on building my laboratory in the basement.
It's exciting. It's exciting. We wish you well and safety at the same point. But again,
it's not something that's really dangerous one way or the other.
Okay.
Really, it isn't.
Okay.
I mean, most people know better than to stick their goodies in a light socket, so, and turn the light on. And that's basically what this, entails.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, it's exciting. I'm excited for your endeavor. And to also, again, we support it 1,000% when it's online. We absolutely would want to at least have access to try it or to do whatever, donate to your cause, whatever you needed.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I want to do this on my own.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
And the reason I want to do it on my own is simply because that way I don't owe anybody anything.
Oh my gosh.
That's why none of my website. That's why everything I do is free access.
Yes.
If they want something, they
I love
copy it and print it out or do what you're going to do with it.
I love that. Okay, very independent spirit. Well, Drake, I want to thank you.
Well, I'm not a patriot. I'm not a patriot for profit. That's a big difference.
That's why you're in this position, giving this kind of intel, as opposed to the other side. You could have taken the other route too, but you decided to take the light.
Well, yeah, and there's another part to that too. When I was in nuclear missiles, I got to know some people that were a part of the Cold War spy network.
Oh.
They gave me varying tasks to complete. Nothing grandiose, just simple stuff.
Yeah.
But it had to be done in a way that gave some information, but didn't out what was really going on. Mm-hmm. That was a little bit difficult. I had to really adjust to get to that point. But what was neat was I earned their trust.
Okay.
So the people that stayed where they were at when they dropped the Cold War, those are a lot of the people that get intel for me.
Yes, that's
and
awesome.
It's a mutual trust. They don't out me. I stay below the radar, and I keep them totally out of it. So, works well. It really does.
That's awesome.
And it's a lot of fun.
Well, Drake, last question, and we can close on out because I'm so appreciative of you coming, and I know it can be a long evening, having amazing conversation with you. You're always a pleasure to speak to. What do you think over the next 6 months? What is the primary thing that we should really see or witness, or what is your prediction of what may be?
Well, it's going to be it's going to be a combination of things. That's the deal. Yeah. You can't just reset one part of society. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is going to be reset.
Okay.
Bear that in mind.
Yes.
And just let it run from there. That's pretty much all it is.
All right. And your suggestion to those who are on here is to, well, at this point with the stock market, there isn't any other suggestion but to dip out now. I mean, I don't even know if anyone's even gained anything from such a high loss. So your suggestion with those who are still, how do you feel about cryptocurrency? Crypto and
No. It's not stable and not secure.
It isn't real. It isn't real. It's crypto. I wouldn't trust
the thing that has to come about is the banking system's got to go. It's funky. So as it goes, it will bring about what's known as a cashless society, just like the
yes. I know that's coming.
Food stamp card or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. You get charged up so much each month, okay? A lot of the people that have been subject in terms of cash or monetary values and all that, mm-hmm. they're going to find that changes and is going to be changed. And it's going to be pretty ruthless in some cases. The landlords are not going to be top dog.
Yeah.
The people that got a lot of money are not going to be the ones that set the rents.
Well, that's why they're
The,
scared. Yeah.
Well, it's like all of the things that have been wrong. The addictive crap going on online, no matter what it is or its origin, that's going to stop.
Yeah.
We're going to end up being an honest to God, for the very first time in a long time, free people again.
Woo! I'm good with that.
Well, if you think about freeing yourself from the system. And I'm talking about the societal system, the manner in which it operates and does things. There's enough prejudice in there to float the whole country.
Yeah.
And it has not changed, irrespective as to civil rights, which was a psyops, or any of the things that are supposedly so great. I mean, you got the Civil Rights Act. I think it was in '64 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't, show me a free person today. It didn't get better; it got worse.
It didn't. It just
and the manner in which the manner in which that operates has got to be fundamentally changed, and that's going to be the biggest bump in the road that everybody's going to go, "Oh my God, it's not like it used to be," and they're going to be right.
Yes. Yes. It's going to be interesting. Well, again, you can't build on an already established society. It has to basically be cleared, and we're witnessing the clearing. And for many of us who are part of the prepper and intelligence community, this was a notion that was already in our perspective, in our concept of what was coming in the future. And now we're able to actually see it unfold. So to me, it's kind of bittersweet, because it's like, yeah, we're ready, but at the same point, it isn't going to be a very pleasant thing to witness. It won't, because nothing that has to be
sure it is. It's going to be all the funners you want it to be.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. You can manifest it as it is, but I mean,
you have to look at it from the perspective of changing everything, including all the fundamentals. And I don't mean change for the worst either. I mean change for the better.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that have been going on that I'll call them progressives who decided we should abide by, or that we should participate in, that most people don't want to get it. They don't want to get it on their fingers. So consequently, all of that goes.
It does.
Now that does not mean that people are not going to be given any kind of, no respect. Why? Well, you're a faggot, or whatever excuse may be used.
Yeah.
That's no longer going to fly.
No.
However, the flaming in your face horse hockey has got to quit. And the reason it does is that as we go back to the rule of law, nobody, victim or whatever, has any special or superior rights to anybody else.
No,
it's going to go back to the fundamentals, and then it's going to be enforced, and that's going to be like I say, it's going. You're going to see a lot of people that needed to be squeezed anyway. They're going to experience what it feels like to have your underwear shrink.
Well,
put it that way.
It will humble those who aren't. It will humble those who weren't wealthy enough to jump ship in a way that would allow them to be.
Well, there's no ship to jump. That's the thing. I mean, it's like what Pat Benatar says in "We Will Be Victorious." That song of hers.
Yeah.
No place to run to anymore.
It's gonna be interesting.
I mean,
I hope it's that way.
So you're gonna have to. Everybody's gonna have to stand up and face the enemy, and the enemy is us.
It is.
According to Pogo.
It is man.
We have seen the enemy, and he are us.
Well,
that's a quote from Pogo.
And
that stuck with me through the years. And the reason it did is because it's the truth. We're our own worst enemy. Pretty simple.
Well, I think we see that in the establishment. We see it in how people have been treated deplorably. We see it in how the planet hasn't been honored or respected. So yeah, I would agree with that. And
okay, so go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. What we have to do is understand that the basis of all this stuff that has not been what it's supposed to be has got to be changed.
Yes.
Now, the changeover is not going to be easy for a lot of people.
Of course.
They're going to be required, whether they like it or not, to accept certain things that they don't particularly care for. Well, that does not mean they're going to have a steady diet of it. It's going to be, or that it's going to be in their face or any of that stuff. What it means is that the applicable law, where a business does not have the right to discriminate, according to the government, is applicable to everybody. And that, then what Marty was looking at, oh, by the way, that was Dr. King's nickname, Marty.
Oh, they used to call Marty. Okay.
He was a friend. He was a friend of the family. Anyway, the main thing about it is that people are going to have to get over themselves, and it's going to happen radically quick. And by that I mean as fast as people realize there's an earthquake or that something humongous is coming down the road, and it might not be great for them if they stand out in the weather. Mm-hmm. Sort of, here it comes.
Yes.
So, getting over yourself that's where you kill your ego.
So what are you saying?
And I don't have any.
What are you saying, Drake?
I don't have any ego left. I murdered that mother.
So, Drake, are you saying all the narcissists?
I did.
Are you saying all the narcissists are going to actually be accountable for their selfish, sociopathic behavior?
Everybody's got. Listen to me. Listen to me carefully. You will no longer be allowed to have any form of asininical attitude problems.
Oh.
It doesn't matter what the reason is.
Yeah.
The reason that poor people are not invited to swanky outings and dinners and whatnot is that the rich people are afraid they'll get some on them.
That is true.
Okay, and all of that, everything goes with it.
Yeah.
Has to change.
Yes. Well,
Just how it is.
It'll be very interesting to see and witness.
Well, that we learn a lot about all this in 4D. We're not going to go into the lower realms because that's where a lot of the pirates hang out. We're going into the upper realms of 4D. Mm-hmm. And only after a person successfully completes the assignments and whatnot in 4D will they be allowed to transition again to 5D.
Yes.
You just can't get in unless you are properly educated, let's say.
Or frequency appropriate. Yeah, frequency appropriate for that level and tier. Yeah, because that's a tier that goes beyond space and time a little bit. It goes above the rip, where things are actually what they are as opposed to what you think they are. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, Drake.
So, you can Gail Gia, you can look her up online. She's got some things.
What's her
She
site?
got my books posted supposedly. And if she's still got them operational, then good. If not,
yes.
You got my phone number, don't you?
Yes, I do. I got you, Drake.
Well then, what you want to do is check my books.
Yep.
There's 5 or 6 of them. I forget which. And what you want to do is let me know if the links are funky.
Okay.
If the links are funky, then I'll be talking to Gail about putting it up on my website.
Okay, so what's her website? Let's find out what her website is. What's her website?
I don't know what her website is. Gail again, she's got references to it.
Oh, Gail, what's her name? Gail what? Gail Gibbs?
Gail of Gia.
Oh, Gail of Gia.
Yeah. We were supposed to do a show today, and they couldn't get it done.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
The communications were so screwed up by the hackers and whatnot that we just couldn't get past it.
Okay. Well, we'll check it out. I'll let you know that we can get through and get to the books. And I want to thank you, Drake, again for coming on for such a powerful show, and taking your time out of your evening. It's amazing, and I look forward to hearing of your success of creating energy that would allow for less, parasitic, toxic energy to keep plaguing us on this planet and creating something that'll be safe, clean, and clear. So thank you again, Drake. Everyone appreciates you coming on. I love, love, love when you come on the show, and I really appreciate you taking your time to do so. So thank you. Can you tell?
Okay, well, if
tell everyone where they can
anytime you
find
want me back on, just let me know.
Oh, I love it. Definitely. I'll holler at you. But tell everybody where they can find you on YouTube. Let them know everything. Do your plugs. Tell them where you are so people can find you.
Okay. Cosmic Voice on Facebook.
Cosmic Voice. A lot of us
will give you a real good heads up as to what's going on with me.
Yes. Cosmic Voice. Okay. And you're on YouTube too.
Yeah.
I see you up on YouTube because you upload a lot of the shows on YouTube that you do on Blog Talk.
I use Blog Talk, yeah. And I haven't had any problem with it.
Yeah, Blog Talk is pretty good. I've used it for years. The only time they've given me problems at the very beginning when I used to talk about extraterrestrials all the time, but eventually they got used to the lingual, the group setting. And it could have been a little bit of me being a novice. So I've used it for years now, so it's fared well with me. But let me let you get back to your wife. Thank you again, Drake. Thank you, everyone, for joining on Aquarius Rising, the 9th gate. And I'll definitely call you, Drake, just to follow up and see if you can come on again. Everyone would love it.
Okay.
All right, Drake. Have a great evening. Peace.
You too, and thanks.
Peace. Wow. That was Drake, everyone. Drake Bailey. So, Cosmic Voice, many of us had already subscribed to him on Facebook. Remember when he first came on Facebook? And it just so happened that Wade was trying to get in. WadeX is supposed to be in tonight. He was trying to call in. He couldn't call in on the phone. I saw that he was trying. So we'll probably have another show again, and we'll have WadeX on to join us for part 2. So we'll go into the second part of going into the concept of what's going on and the crux of the change of the transition, as they like to say. So as you see, I know, family, I came on tonight. I was so sleepy. You can see when I have glassy eyes, I was like, I'm definitely doing the show. You liked it, Mandy? Oh, my pleasure. I was so tired tonight. I was like, screw that. I want to talk to Drake. So I'm going to muster, I have my chicory. It's interesting. I had chicory and a little bit of molasses in there. Not molasses. A little bit of my what is it? I don't even know. Maple. So anyway, family, thank you for joining. Everyone who joined in this evening, I really appreciate you showing up and checking it out. I really love having these conversations. And, I really appreciate everyone on Patreon who supports this platform. As much as we do a lot on YouTube, the main platform of YouTube, a lot of times it's too overwhelming. It's so many people and there's so many energies, and a lot of times they'll tap any kind of intel show. We even had resistance, just with WadeX not coming up, being able to come on here. We get a lot of resistance a lot of times coming on the bigger platform. So they've allotted, I get rarely any issues other than a little bit of the fuss before we start to go on for the show. But I like this platform. So I really support everyone who comes on Patreon. Thank you so much. And thank you for the homies who come on and, have the discussion. You know what's coming. You know what's in the air. And there's a lot of false flagging that will be perpetuated during these next couple of weeks. And as I saw many of you discussing, you have to be in preparedness mode. It isn't to put fear in you, but even today, I went to go get my red palm oil. I always have red palm oil. And red palm oil is it's a nutritional staple. It's a superfood, but I don't use it for food. I use it on my skin and my hair. And it's really good to have it because it kind of mutes out some of the radiation. And also, Narda gave me some tips on having palm sugar. Palm sugar also helps to neutralize radioactive. I think Narda could probably more so go into that radioactive radiation. So kind of muted a bit. So, I went out today to do that. And then also to make sure that you have water in the house. Remember I told you, I doubt a lot of the municipals will shut down, but do you really want to trust the waterways? I have a triple filter on my water, but I wouldn't trust anything coming out of the pipes, especially if they have an agenda to kind of level off everyone and try to get rid of those with weaker immune systems. Just keep your immune system up. Like even, I got to contact John X Army. John X just came from Arizona. I was so bugging out. So John X is going to be on the show again with me. I love John. He's going through his whole thing. He was up in Sedona. I was hating on you, John. John was in Sedona. So I was like, darn, I would have known. I would have gone up there if I would have known he was up there. I was in the mix of everything. So, John X Army will probably come on and, also do a show talking about the nega, because he's representing the nega, and a lot of people have totally shut John out because they think he's lost his mind. No, he's found his mind. That's what he's actually done. So John X will be on the show as well. I'm going to get him on here within the next week or two. So, be in prepper mode, everybody. You know what we get down. Many of you have come on my Patreon. If you've gotten a chance to see my Patreon videos with my bug out bag, a lot of these people are making it into a frenzy now, and you purchasing. Like I opened up the guy who calls himself AMTV. I think many of you know him. He always talks about emergency, oh, the coronavirus. He's always going all crazy, even though he was coughing up a storm today. And he's like, you've got to buy these staples, these boxes of, staples, these boxes for preparedness and preparedness, stocks of food. So I go and look and see what he has in his preparedness kit. It is all processed foods. Who wants to have a bunch of macaroni and cheese, linguine? These are all chicken fettuccine, all starchy, all probably salted up. You're going to be dehydrated by the time you go through your food. How you going to have mac and cheese and all that craziness? I didn't see one herb in that box, that kit. I didn't see any of the staples, any of the silver or the oil of oregano. I didn't see that in the box. See, this is what I'm saying, family. A lot of these people are online. They are basically mafioso, just utilizing their platforms to just basically, make income off of people's fears. That's a sad thing. So, I had to look inside and see what he's selling. What are you selling boxes for like this much? Macaroni mass destruction. All these starches. So people are going to be sick. If you didn't get the cucarachas, you're going to get the cucarachas because your system is going to be so depleted from nutrition, you're going to end up getting sick. He didn't have anything in there. You could go to Walmart on your own and go get some herbs, some thyme, some parsley, some dandelion, like Drake said. You get them nice and you can get them or dry them yourself and totally have that. Make sure you aren't getting canned foods, canned things, because things that are canned generally have a lot of salt to keep them preserved. And you remember, for every time you get dehydrated, you're going to require twice the amount of water to rehydrate yourself. And the number one reason why most people get sick is from dehydration. So even when I tell my preppers, when I used to do the prepper, the things for my girlfriends, first thing I tell you, if you do any dehydrated foods, just know, just to rehydrate it in your body requires liquid. I prefer if you're in fresh places where you have, and things about to kick off, go get a bag of oranges, go get a bag of grapefruit, go get a bag of apples, things that already have hydration. You won't be as thirsty and you'll be boosting up your vitamin C. Go get some dandelion, go have some cabbage, have things that have dates in your house. Dates are high impact with a lot of vitamins and a lot of nutrients. Then have your sources of vitamins and minerals that you have independently. Have sea moss. You can keep sea moss in your cabinet forever. You can make sea moss smoothies, which has more minerals than you having a meal for 7 days. Have some seaweed in the house. It helps you to mute radiation. These are the things that you have to have as staples in your house. Make sure you aren't getting hosts of junk food like potato chips, sugar, because sugar dehydrates you. Potato chips, potatoes are a starch. It stiffens you. Anytime you want to be healthy, you want to keep as little eating, you want to refrain from eating as much, and you want to make sure you keep a nice hydrated state. Eating probably will be your worst enemy during times when you need to conserve. Okay, so that's always my suggestion for most of the prepper community. You know, these are a lot of the prepper community are food hoarders, and you'll meet a lot of them, and all they have is macaroni and cheese. They have raviolis in cans. They have like meat in cans. A lot of their stuff that they're stockpiling is unhealthy, and you wouldn't even feed that to your dog. So be careful of stockpiling things that aren't nutritionally sound and are highly sodium enriched. And the type of sodium, we're not talking about sea salt sodium, we're talking about ionized salt, which helps to make you more radioactively, you absorb radiation more when you have a lot of radioactive salt. Okay, and it also messes with your thyroid. So, you know, just be mindful of that. You know, we discuss things like that. Figs, fig leaf, you know, have olive leaves, you know. Herbs are the number one thing you should have in the house, water and herbs. If I had to tell anybody, you can make anything. You can make teas, you can make tea, soups. As long as you have things like that, make sure you have like greens in your house. And this is a time I'm okay with you having a little bit of oxalates, because if you have greens, you can detox. Green is for detoxing, okay, and herbs, to make sure you're keeping your stable. And make sure you're not using your herbs previous to getting ill, because what happens is that you'll mute your body from actually being able to combat or to neutralize something in you if you're perpetually using it previous to even having anything that you have to use it for. Okay, use as needed. Okay, so have your herbs. I went today and I got my dill, I got thyme, I got rosemary. I grow rosemary. I have my rosemary plant, but she's very she's very weak right now because it's a little cool out. So I want to mess with her. I don't like picking from her when it's cold out. So I brought her in. I have my my dill. I grow ginger. I grow my own ginger, so I never have to buy ginger. I grow lots of ginger. I grow ginger. I grow chalets. I grow what are those? Scallions. I grow a lot of the little things like that. I grow some of the herbs, some sage. You know, have a lot of those herbs around to go to. And for someone, have teas in the house. Make sure you have teas. You want to make sure you're having things like that. No caffeine. That's the one time you won't see me drinking coffee. I'll do chicory because coffee dehydrates you. Okay, and that not only does it dehydrate you, as soon as you drink coffee, you'll flush it out by going to the bathroom, and then you lose more moisture. Okay, so just make sure you have that mask. You know, I hope everybody did it when I told you to get the mask before the cucarachas, the chinois had said anything. I hope you guys listened to me the first week. Many people thought I was crazy when I was saying what was going to happen. Just make sure you have, and it has to be 99.9, the carbon mask. They have to be carbon. You can make it yourself like my girlfriend. You can also make it yourself. One of the things that I encourage you to do is that you can burn wood. You can take dead wood outside. Be proactive. You don't, remember Drake was saying why he wants to be independent and do his thing. You don't have to buy the mask. You can go and take material right now and you can create your own mask with carbon. All it is carbon. Even when the babies are sick, if anything happens in the house and someone gets toxic poisoning, all you do is chelate them with charcoal. You burn wood and make them eat it. It won't make them sick, and they won't die from it, but it'll collect all that poison. So you can make your own mask. So why don't you go on YouTube, see ways to make the mask? I'm sure people are doing it now. You know, they love to do it, and create your own mask so that you at least make your own carbon mask. Okay? And other than that, just make sure you're proactive. You know, you should be watching around you because there's a lot of false flags that are about to, yes, make them ghetto mask. Make them ghetto masks. Listen, one thing that you notice, and I will always give props, the hillbillies and the hood people, they will do okay. It is the middleman and the wealthy man that are going to have the biggest issues. The hood and the trailer park people, they've been living that life. They've been resourceful. They know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. It's all those who are, apathetic, who've been complicit and always codependent on getting groceries delivered. I go to Whole Foods now. People don't even shop for their own groceries. People aren't even shopping for their own groceries. they're going and having people shop for them. So you get strangers with their own negative vibrations touching your food, purchasing it, and then bringing it to you. I want to listen. If you're gonna purchase my food, darn Skippy, I want to pick you. I want to pick you of a certain vibration. So if you're gonna buy my food, I want to make sure you're not putting juju on my food. Nobody's shopping anymore. I'm in Whole Foods. I'm seeing these weird people with all these carts looking at a list. I'm like, oh snap. I know it's fearful outside, but come on out, people. Anyway, so I think it was a good show. I think it was a good show, and again, I thank you. Be again proactive and check out some of my bug out video. I've been bugging out for 20 years. I've been bugging out. I'm the biggest prepper. I've been in the prepper community for a long time. So, many of you know me from that genre. Some of you actually know me. Some of my preppers know me from the prepper community only. They didn't know that I was in contact with, they probably did. I probably talk about it. I talk about everything. But they didn't really know what I talked about other than that, because I was part of that community for so long. And I know a lot of the farmers and stuff, and I really support farming, local farmers and what have you. Especially when I was in Pennsylvania. That was something that I really honored as far as the relationships. So, and as you see, I think somebody asked me, I have my maple water. I have various waters. Remember, I was on a water fast, so I have every kind of water possible. I have oxygen water. I have hydrogen water. Listen, and for those who asked me the other day, I did order the hydrogen water, because you should have that in the house. Because one of the things with 5G, big up to Kiki, a couple of people were talking about it, but Kiki had sent me a video and a couple other people. 5G does deplete your retention of oxygen. That is why the Chinois were passing out in the middle of the street, because they went full 5D and then they were susceptible to whatever viruses that they already introduced to them. And with the combination of oxygen deprivation, it causes all kinds of seizure type of, behavior. So what I did, you brought a hydrogen machine and a distilled water machine, you're off the hook. Oz is already on. I'm going to Oz. Oz, you got company. Remember I Love Jeannie? She was like, I'm going to be in your house. She'd be like, Flower, what you doing? I'm in my drawers. I'd be like, listen, you got hydrogen water? We friends. No, it's smart to have the machine. Just have your own things that you're independent. So if you want to, I already bought it. I don't have the machine. I have my big, huge, filter in the garage, and then I have my mate putting another super filter, because I have another place that I'm going to be living. Other than here, when I relocate, I have another place that I'll be living, and everything is filtrated and everything's natural source. So that will be a whole nother system. You guys will have a chance to see me when I'm on the sanctuary and see where it is and see how that is. But for now, when I'm staying here occasionally, I do have a filter in that, and my maid has to put actual filter on the entirety of the house. I have a triple filter. Okay, but Oz, we're going to Oz's house. We're going to Oz's house. So just make sure you have proper water. Water. Remember I told you make right with water? So, make sure that you have taken the precautions, because I always say to you, make sure that you make more precautions for your liquids than you do your foods. You can live more days without food than you can without proper, healthy, hygienic liquids. That is a big deal, okay? And again, if you're going to dehydrate anything, it takes 3 to 10 times as much liquids to rehydrate it in your body than it does to have a proper fruit. So make sure you're getting fruit. Have some kiwis, have some have oranges, grapefruit, have some pineapple. Pineapples last. Get a pineapple that's not fully ripe. Have pineapples. If in the next week craziness, I'm going to the fruit market tomorrow and buying my fruit. I'm a fruitarian mostly. And I have to fast. So I already saw the nutritionist, and this fast will be different. I will be doing more an additive of herbal. I will have an additive of herbal combinations in this fast. So this fast, I'm allotted to have. I have to keep my metabolism higher because if I let it dip too much, I'm of a certain age, I can't do that anymore. So I have a wonderful specialist who actually gave me a wonderful way to enjoy my fast, but to allow my metabolism to thrive through the process. So I'll be working out during this fast, partially, and also taking in certain herbs, specific herbs and teas that will drive my metabolism so it isn't dipping, but also will help to detox me a little quicker. So this will be a different type of fast. I'm calling this the Aquarian fast. The Aquarian fast. So Aquarian 2020 Matrix, remix. Okay. So the fast will begin for me starting Monday. Remember, we're starting the fast March 1st. This is a 30-day fast, so obviously there will be zero caffeine, but I will be able to intake some caloric. I will have caloric intake with this one, and thank you, Wade. But I will incorporate exercise, and it will be full detox. So I'll see how I feel within the first couple of days. This is a little different because it's the first time I'm taking another approach to a 30-day fast. The last time it was a water fast. Before that it was a green fast. This is a different kind of fast. So, and I'll go over the regimen with you guys if you want to join me for the same fast. So family, I'm going to go lie down with my schnickums, okay? I'm tired. I definitely was so excited to do the show. Wade, I'm going to have you on for another show. Sorry. As soon as you were calling, I knew you couldn't call in, and they were going to stop it. So I knew they were going to not have you both on the show. So we'll do another show with you, Wade. No worries. And, everyone have a masterful evening. I have a feeling, what's weird? I have a feeling something big is going to happen tomorrow. I am good. Thank you, Sisu. I'm going to have wonderful dreams, but I have a feeling all day I feel like something is going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what it is. I feel like something is like, it could be something personal. Maybe it's something with me, but I feel like something, you too, Jeannie, I don't know what it is. Like all day I'm like, okay, I'm prepping. I have to get these things. Like I felt like I was nesting. You ever been, when I was pregnant, it was like right before I went and my water broke. I felt like I had to do so much. It's like I couldn't, that's why I'm tired. I couldn't do enough today. I was like, why am I in this mode? Like, why am I feeling this way all day? So you guys are feeling it too. I don't know what it is. It's something. And I think it's tomorrow because it feels weird. So I don't know if it's negative or positive. It just feels like something's happening tomorrow. I don't know what it is. And I can't predict it. I don't know. So we'll see. Hey Kiki, what you doing, Kiki? Kiki, you're up. See, Kiki, I'm about to go to sleep, and look, you're wide awake because you're on the other side of the world. Kiki's wide awake. You're probably chilling, enjoying the sunshine. We about to go down like night owls. So yeah, you caught the middle. So yeah, so family, just be on the lookout. I'm gonna stay home. I think I'm gonna stay home tomorrow. I want to just chill out with the little people and just watch movies, because I don't really have incentive to try to go out there and investigate the craziness out there. I really don't. But when you guys don't see me, it's not anything dastardly happening. It's just that, I'm usually chilling. I like to chill in my jammy. I don't like jammies. That's a lie. That's a lie. I just like to chill at home, clothless, with no clothes, and just chilling and watching YouTube. I really do. That's like my wonderful thing. Or I'll watch a new show called Rain. I like this show. I like watching shows like the Antiquarian Days. That's like my secret squirrel stuff. Some of you guys don't know. I love my secret squirrel thing. If you ever want to know, I love to watch it's called Rain. I love to watch King Queen movies from back in the days. I know I was there in another life, so I have like this thing about it. Naked and bougie cherries. That's what I'm talking about. Ooh, listen, Oz, you already know me. Naked and unafraid with my cherries in bed. I'm serious. I got my platter. I got my cherries. I got everything set up. I don't have the TV anymore because it blew up. So I do the projector screen. So if anybody wants to do it, I like the projector screen instead because there's no more black screen. So yeah, I will do. Oh, you said the ETs will land after the reset. I agree with that. Absolutely. WadeX was saying it. The ETs are gonna land. Yeah, because they're gonna be, because all the crazies will be gone. All these lying shapeshifters, they won't be trying to create the narrative of lies and cloaks. So we'll be able to interface with our galactic family because the world will be a different place. I'm excited about that. All right, family, I'm out. Say no to Graves. He's not gray. Look at him. He's not gray. Say no to Graves. I'm so sleepy. I love you, family. Be well. I talk more in bed, but you can see when my eyes get glassy. I'm not drunk. I'm sleepy. Oh, I love you, family. Have a great night. I'll talk to you guys maybe over the weekend. You'll see me over the weekend. I'll talk to you guys once I get some rest. I haven't slept. When I have bags underneath my eyes, I saw my eyes yesterday. I haven't slept because I've been up. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'll come to you. If something happens, we'll talk about it. I'll come on Patreon, okay? So if something happens, I'll come on Patreon and we'll kind of talk about it privately. All right? I love you. Peace, family. Peace, peace, peace.